A beautiful day in New York, and in good times and bad, kids love the Mets. Lots of kids coming to the ballpark today with moms and dads trying to root the Mets to a victory against the Rockies. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Colorado Rockies. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you today as the Mets wrap up their four-game series against the Rockies. Last year, Colorado came to Citi Field, and led by Troy Tulowitzki, they swept a four-game series for the Mets. And now, without Tulowitzki and without most of their stars, the Rockies have come in here, and they're threatening to sweep the Mets again. It has not been a good stretch for the Mets ever since the All-Star break, and today, the chance to get swept a four-game series at home.
Well, that would be really rubbing your thumb in their eyes right here at Citi Field. 11-27, in fact, Gary, since the All-Star break. At the All-Star break, they were 4.5 back. Now they're 20. They lost 16.5 games. This is I can't say it's a must-win, but it's a save-face sort of game for the Mets to come back and not be swept by the last-place Rockies.
Mets have managed 2 runs or less over the last 5 games. They haven't done that in 9 years. And today, they'll have a pitcher on the mound making his Major League debut. 25-year-old Colin McHugh comes up from Buffalo to take Johan Santana's place.
Well, he split time. They had 12 starts in Double-A at Binghamton and 12 starts at Buffalo at Triple-A. Combined 7-9 with a 2.88 earned run average in those 24 games start. He's tough on the left-hand hitters. The right-hand hitters, only hitting .206 against him in those 2 classifications. He's a change-up pitcher, kind of out of the mold of Dylan G. He will throw strikes.
And for the Rockies, who have the worst ERA in the league but have pitched very well in this series, Tyler Chatwood, whom the Mets saw last year in an Angels uniform.
Well, in the Angels uniform, he won 7 shutout innings for a W against the Mets last year. Was traded in the offseason for backup catcher Chris Iannetta. He's only 22 years old, so 6-11 last year for the Angels. So a good pickup for Colorado. This is his 3rd stint here. He started out in the bullpen, his 5th start of the year.
So a couple of young pitchers going head-to-head here at Citi Field this afternoon. The Mets and the Rockies wrapping up a 4-game series. All the action coming your way this afternoon on SNY. NY is brought to you by Lexus, by Geico, by Nissan. Get to Nissan for the biggest savings under the sun at Nissan Summer Saving Days. Visit ChooseNissan.com or your local Nissan dealer. By Thompson's Water Seal, the most powerful protection against water damage guaranteed. By Bob's Discount Furniture. Donate blood for the American Red Cross at MetLife Stadium this Saturday from 8 to 2, and you could win Giants and Bob's Discount Furniture prizes. And by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Merengue Night returns to Citi Field tomorrow night when the Mets host the Astros. Sergio Vargas headlines the post-game concert presented by Budweiser and sponsored by Delta Airlines and Atlantic City. Log on to Mets.com. Let's take a drive around the majors presented by Mazda. Adrian Beltre hit 3 home runs, drove in 5 as the Rangers beat the Orioles 12-3. Chris Medlin, brilliant again, 7 scoreless innings. He's got 21 straight scoreless innings now as the Braves salvage the finale of their series against the Nationals. And the Giants complete the sweep of the Dodgers. Former Met Joaquin Arias drove in 5. Giants now 2.5 up on the Dodgers after winning last night 8-4. Gabby Douglas is in the house, the gold medal gymnast, throwing out the first pitch here at Citi Field as Terry Collins' team gets set to face the Rockies in the final game of the series. First pitch is coming right up. It's baseball on SNY is brought to you by Brooklyn Burger, the premium steakhouse burger and the official burger of the New York Mets. Be sure to visit Keith's Grill at Citi Field, located on the field level behind section 132. Keith might even be there in person to serve you.
Look at that.
And the promenade level behind home plate, so you can enjoy Keith's favorite Brooklyn burger.
I got gray real fast, didn't I?
I've heard that. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. You can listen to all Mets games on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. The Astros are coming to town tomorrow night. The Astros are 46 games under 500. They'll be here over the weekend. Then the Mets go to Philadelphia, Miami, and St. Louis on their next road trip that will carry them well into the month of September. There's the Hyundai starting lineup for the Rockies. Pretty much the same group that went out there last night, minus Dexter Fowler, who sprained his ankle last night and is going to miss at least a few days. So Jordan Pacheco plays first base, and Tyler Colvin moves out to center field. That no-name Rockies lineup has won 3 in a row. Colin McHugh in his big league debut will try and cool them off.
Well, got some folks here. Covington, Georgia native, born and raised, and 6'2", 195-pounder. You see his numbers that this year. Split at Binghamton and AAA Buffalo. And we'll take a look at the Lexus Mets defense, and a lot of lefties in the lineup today. And look at all the different lineups. Terry Collins just trying everything he can do to try to get some points on the board. This is a Rocky pitching staff that's last in the National League, and the Mets have only managed to score 5 runs in the first 3 ball games.
Well, the Mets starting pitching has been terrific in this series. In 20 innings, the starters, Dickey, Young, and Harvey, have allowed a total of 4 earned runs, but that's been enough to beat the Mets. Charlie Blackmon will lead things off for the Rockies. When Colin McHugh throws his first pitch in this game, he'll be the first player ever from Berry College in Mount Berry, Georgia, ever to play in a major league game. So it's something of an historic event. Certainly will be for Colin, who's got to have some butterflies right now. 24 starts at Binghamton and Buffalo at a 2.88 ERA, and here he is, ready to make his big league debut. Blackmon 2 for 19 on the season and 2 for 14 in this series. And the first pitch in the big leagues from Colin McHugh is a fastball that misses outside for a ball 1. McHugh will throw the 4 basic pitches. His curveball is supposed to be his best pitch. Often gets compared to Dylan G in terms of being a pitcher who does not have outstanding stuff, but manages to pitch around the strike zone and is successful in locating his stuff. The numbers certainly proved that out in the minor leagues this year. Now we'll see how he does at the big league level. Blackmon on 1-1, lines it the other way, and he's got a base hit. Chased toward the corner by Hairston. Blackmon, who can fly, on his way to second, and he'll stop there with a leadoff double. So Charlie Blackmon has his second extra base hit of the series.
Well, 3rd straight pitch outside corner. Got a little running fastball, not much sink, just kind of a runner. And that's how you hit a pitch knee-high outside corner. You can't do that any better. Up at the plate, boom, drive it to left field.
So Blackmon leads off with a double. Now Jonathan Herrera, who's 3 for 11 in this series. And David Wright well in on the grass at third. Davis is going to come in at first as well. Herrera, who's always a threat to lay one down. And he tries to drop one toward third and fouls it off. Herrera filling in at shortstop, as he has in every game in this series. Jordan Pacheco waiting on deck. It's really a lineup of fill-ins right now, with the exception of Carlos Gonzalez facing Colin McHugh today. But the Rockies have won 11 of their last 16 games, so they're getting some energy out of their younger players. And Herrera again up there looking to bunt. It's 1-1. Roy Tulowitzki is scheduled to go out on rehab. He's been out for almost 3 months now with a groin injury. Josh Rutledge was filling in. He's pinch hit in this series, but can't play the field because he has a quad injury, and so Herrera getting the time at short.
Interesting, playing bunt early.
And he bunts it and fumbled by Davis, but he recovers in time to make the play. And so the sacrifice successful. 3-4, moving Blackmon to third.
Well, here comes Ike charging. And I tell you what, if Herrera runs from the get-go, he might beat it out.
I'm not sure why he froze in the batter's box like that. That was clearly a fair ball. So the sacrifice moves Blackmon to third. Jim Tracy playing for an early run. And here's Jordan Pacheco, who started the first couple of games of this series at third base. There's a catcher in the minor leagues, a guy who is a hitter trying to find a position, kind of a right-handed Daniel Murphy. And he fouls back the fastball, 0-1. Pacheco hitting at .306, just 2 home runs. Starting at first base for the 5th time this year. Todd Helton out for the year with a hip injury. And Helton at age 38 is hoping to come back next year, but that's by no means guaranteed. Mets play the infield back. They'll concede a run on a ground ball. And Pacheco chasing the slider. And it's 0-2.
McHugh, a little bit of a slinger. And kind of like a little like Yule Blackwell, the whip that Ralph Kiner always cringes when he brings up his name. A little bit of the sidearm, not quite sidearm delivery, but a slinger.
He could use a strikeout here. Comes inside to Pacheco, 1-2. McHugh in 144 minor league innings, struck out 132. So similar strikeout numbers to Dylan G, another guy who doesn't crack much above 90 miles an hour. Now the 1-2, and Pacheco takes it just off the plate. 2-2. Carlos Gonzalez looming on deck. Again, Tolley sets up away, and it's up and away, a fastball, and a full count to Pacheco after McHugh got ahead 0-2. Colin McHugh, an 18th round draft pick by the Mets in 08. Grew up in Atlanta, and then on to Berry College, which is right near Rome, Georgia, if you know Georgia geography. He's made every stop in the Mets farm system. 3-2 on the way, and Pacheco takes strike 3 called. Took a fastball right down the middle.
It's called looking for a breaking ball, and shame on you 3,000 times.
Don't understand it.
How can you do that when you've got a pitcher, it's a rookie, and you don't know anything about him? There's no charts on him. Please. That is just ranks right there with an F on your report card.
Make your dad angry.
Oh, I want to go home. Sneak in the window and get my clothes and move out.
Stay at a friend's that night. Here's Carlos Gonzalez. Came back from the bereavement list last night and went 0 for 4. So that's a big strikeout for McHugh. Pitting Blackman at third, but now he's got to get through the most dangerous bat in the lineup. And the first pitch curveball is fouled off. First curve we've seen from McHugh, and that's a pitch that the scouts say is his best.
Nope. Defensively, the right side of the infield, actually the whole entire infield, playing Gonzalez for the pull. And note how deep shortstop, and Murph's always playing in the outfield, but even Tejada's playing on the edge of the grass.
There's the fastball by McHugh, and he threw it by him 0-2.
Well, Gonzalez is a low ball hitter. One flaw in his swing is that he's got that home run swing. Doesn't get on top of the high pitch that much, but as a result, you get down in that low part of the strike zone, he can launch it.
Now McHugh ahead on Gonzalez 0-2, and the curveball low and inside 1-2. He overthrew that curveball a little bit. Very engaging guy. Doesn't look too nervous in his big league debut, but you know the butterflies have to be churning trying to get through this first inning.
Be nice if he can get out of this.
Facing one of the best hitters in the league. And Gonzalez down on strikes. Nice escape by Colin McHugh in his first big league inning. Gives up a leadoff double, but strikes out the 3 and 4 hitters to get out unscathed. Nicely done. Mets come to bat with no score. Starting lineup, Terry Collins moving things around a little. First time since May the 6th that Ruben Tejadas hit anywhere but first or second. Jordani Valdespin hits leadoff for only the second time, as the Mets try to get something going on offense against the 22-year-old right-hander Tyler Chatwood.
Well, as we said, traded over from the Angels, 6-11 last year and 25 starts for the Angels. And it hasn't been very fun for him this year. The numbers aren't pretty.
Jordani Valdespin leads off. Not what you'd call a prototypical leadoff hitter, in that his on-base percentage is just .276, but gives the Mets some speed in the leadoff spot that they've been lacking.
Well, you know, these old Pirate teams, they didn't have the on-base percentage, but they all hit 300. You hit 300, you can lead off.
Sure. If you hit 300, then your on-base percentage will be over 300
Absolutely.
too.
That helped.
Daniel Murphy hitting second in the order, then David Wright for the Mets in the opening inning. Mets trying to find some ray of hope in what has been a very dismal stretch, and here's a ray for you as Valdespin takes a strike. Today is Thursday. It's a nice Thursday afternoon. Some clouds around, but a very comfortable day. This season, when the Mets have played on Thursday, they're 12-1. So take heart. It's the right day of the week.
Good.
Inside to Valdespin, who's drawn only 5 walks, 156 official at bats, but here he has a 3-1 advantage leading off.
It does seem like the worst of the summer weather is behind us. We've got one more 8 days left in the month of August, and we're in September, if you can believe that.
It will be in Miami next week. Plenty of summer there. Valdespin taking all the way, and it's ball 4, so he takes his leadoff responsibilities seriously and gets aboard to start the bottom of the first.
And the Coors Light Rockies defense. Rosario, okay. Not great, that's for sure, but he can sure swing the bat. Tyler Colvin, a little bit of center field in his background, a little more right field when he came up with the Cubs, but he's in center plugging that gap with Dexter Fowler spraining his ankle last night.
Here's Daniel Murphy, who's in a very rough stretch, just 3 for his last 34.
It has been a very peculiar year for Daniel.
Peculiar as in streaky?
Yes, and I gotta believe, you know, he's been periods where he's sat, and I just not quite sure. I mean, he's a pro. He's going to accept whatever the manager, the lineup he puts out there, but he hasn't been in that lineup every day like he was last year.
Well, he's got 439 at bats, which is second on the club behind David Wright.
Swinging under that fastball.
Valdespin with 6 stolen bases and 7 tries. And it's up and away to Murphy. Ball and 2 strikes. Tyler Chatwood, just 22 years old. He was a second-round pick by the Angels in 08 out of high school in Redlands, California. David Wright on deck. Chatwood coming over in the trade for Chris Iannetta, which has worked out doubly for the Rockies in that they've gotten Chatwood, who's a pretty good prospect, but it's also opened up the catching spot for Wheelan Rosario, who has had a tremendous rookie season. 2-2 now to Murphy, as Chatwood having trouble locating his fastball, and Rosario is going to go out for a conversation.
So anytime you can trade a backup catcher, as they had in Iannetta, who never really panned out. They had high hopes for him, the Rockies, and he never hit. And you can get a 22-year-old pitcher that's already got a year's experience in the big leagues. It's a good gamble, especially in today's game where pitching, with the expansion of the 4 teams and just a dearth of pitching, not enough to go around.
Murphy waiting on a 2-2, and Chatwood taking a look at Valdespin.
Now, Chatwood right now, if you notice against the left-handers, his fastball is missing up and away. It's running away and tailing away, which means he's flying that front shoulder out. Now he's going to try to make the adjustment, and as a hitter, he just might throw it right down the pipe.
Well, the lefties are hitting .356 against him this year, so he has struggled against left-hand batters, which is why the Mets have stocked their lineup with left-hand hitters today against Chatwood.
Like I've always said, Gary, when a pitcher, it's the same principle. When a pitcher's got his curveball in the dirt, and he's going to consistently throw him in the dirt, he's going to lift his sights. He's more apt to hang it.
Murphy fouls it off.
They're trying to get early in the game. They're trying to get their sights and their heat-seeking missiles, as I call them, and then on the right spot. And if they're missing, they're going to make their alterations through the first couple innings to try to find it. And that's when you can get them, because they'll overcompensate. They're missing away. They'll try to come over inside more, and they might be inclined to miss over the middle.
Chadwood's been on this stage before. Faced the Mets here last year with the Angels. Had a terrific day. And Murphy's one of the 3 Met hitters who were in the lineup that day against Chadwood when he threw 7 scoreless innings a year ago June. One of his 9 big league victories. 9-14 in his career. David Wright waiting on deck. That's with the leadoff man on. Murphy working Chatwood hard. 7th pitch of the at bat. Valdespin runs. Murphy strikes out. The throw by Rosario not in time. So Murphy strikes out for the first out, and Valdespin steals his 7th base.
But chase a high fastball, and Valdespin steals it.
Rosario with the 1-hop throw. Threw a BB last night to get David Wright. So now Wright will bat with a runner at 2nd and 1 out. David 2 for 9 in this series. Still 5th in the National League in batting, 2nd in on-base percentage. And last night drew 2 intentional walks, and David now leads the National League in intentional walks. Pitching to him here as the second baseman LeMahieu makes a run to the bag. Mets scored a first inning run last night to take the early lead, only to see the Rockies score late against the bullpen. 2 against Ramon Ramirez, 2 against an inconsolable Frank Francisco, who first tore up the dugout and then didn't talk to reporters, which is very unlike Frank, who is generally a very gregarious sort. And the curveball from Chatwood misses, ball 1. That curveball from Chatwood has had scouts over the years compare him, just in terms of his size and his repertoire, to Roy Oswalt, because he throws mid-90s and he's got what they consider an outstanding curveball, and he's only 6 feet tall. There's the fastball, and he blows it past right, 1-1.
Well, he doesn't throw it as hard as Oswalt. It's a big breaker, and it's a big difference. You remember Rusty Staub. We'll take a look at David's swing here. Just been pulling off a little bit, trying to do too much. Last night, 2 ground balls to the shortstop on balls away. Been rolling it over a little bit lately.
Night before, though, he swung the bat well, hit it hard all night. 2-1 with to David. He's due one more hot streak, you would think, before the season ends.
I would think so. That's a lot of season left. You can put together a month. We got 37, 36 more games?
37 after today. Valdespin edges off 2nd, and Wright swings at that slider and misses, and it's 2-2. Chatwood's been throwing his slider more lately.
Chatwood has got a little bit of a Rick Sutcliffe kind of wiggle before he delivers the ball when he brings his hand back behind him. It's a little odd little.
Wraps that ball?
Yeah, I call it wiggle. Ronnie calls it a wrap. I call it a wiggle.
You guys should open a sandwich shop. And Wright tops one foul. And the Mets putting together some long first inning at bats against Chatwood. First 3 hitters have all seen 5 or more pitches.
Yep, you see what they're talking about is hitting right there. Well, there you see the months for David. A terrific first half.
The best half of the season that he's had in his career. Grounded to shortstop. Herrera will throw it across and get right for the second out as Valdespin holds at second.
Well, this is a good bat, a good swing. Just hit them where they ain't, as we say in the game. Down and in. It's a little bit of a late sink. Good balance. I'm always worried that David's going to bite that tongue off one of these days.
Yeah, Michael Jordan never did.
That's true. See, he's got his bat held properly now with the label up on contact.
Do you think he was listening?
Though someone maybe told him.
Well, but you want to get the recoil, right?
Yep.
Here's Ike Davis, 3 for 10 in the series. He has a 5-game hitting streak going. Valdespin at second and 2 out. And Chadwood misses low and away with that fastball.
Well, he drove in a run last night late to make it a 1-run ball game. I believe it was in the 8th. Yes, it was. But the Rockies came back and got 2 insurance runs and iced that game up.
68 RBIs now for Ike, just 7 behind Wright for the club lead, which is extraordinary when you think about where they both came from.
Well, what's amazing about Ike is that coming into this game, hitting .221 on the interstate the majority of the first half of the season. I mean, he's got what he needs, 23 RBI, and there comes the pitching coach out here to have a chat. I don't know why. He's got a chance to drive in 90 runs, and it's not so much the 90 runs that I'm talking about, but what if Ike had a year that he had this, with the second half last year when he came up? I mean, what is his ceiling? What is his potential for RBI?
Well, you look at last year, he got off to that great start. 5 weeks into the season, looked like he was going to have an extraordinary year. Then he gets hurt and misses the rest of the season. And I don't know whether that had anything to do with the slow start this year, but, you know, for the first 2.5 months, he couldn't buy a hit. But if you take his numbers since then, he's had a pretty good half a season. So you have to be encouraged by what you've seen. It hasn't been up to what he'd like it to be, but he's come from 160 to 220, which is a pretty big rise over the last couple of months with the power production. 22 homers, 68 driven in. Pickoff try, and right near the bag is Valdespin as Herrera came in to take the throw.
He's got to work on, I would have Ike go home. I'm sure his daddy and mom are listening right now, and have him just take BP and not start his stride until he sees the ball out of the pitcher's hand. Because he's been jumping all year a little bit, and I think Ron, his father, knows he identifies hitters that jump and can take a good pitcher as he was, take advantage of those guys with curveballs and breaking stuff in the dirt. He's got to start awful early, and if he can just hang. He didn't do it last year or the year before. It's the first time I've seen him do it. So if he can just work on that, don't start that stride, just wait a split second longer, identify the pitch, be a lot better off. And maybe he'd be able to get back to his old stance with his feet a little closer together with the leg kick. I don't mind that at all.
Well, of course, when he had his leg kick, he also had a tendency to step in the bucket, which appears to not be an issue anymore.
You know what my dad did was stepping in the bucket, put a 2x4 in the bucket, laid it down on the ground. So if you stepped in the bucket, you step on a 2x4, and that broke your habit
or your ankle. Up and into Davis, and it's 3-1. It's like your very own Tal's Hill in the batter's box.
If we started sticking our butt out and swinging, he would get a long broomstick and just like place it. And when we started to stick our fanny out, he would just put that broom right up against the back of our fanny and push us back in to break that habit.
Did your father study under the Marquis de Sade? Herrera out to call and called off by Gonzalez, and that ends the inning. A leadoff walk. Valdespin is stranded. No score at Citi Field after 1.
He was Spanish.
Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Colin McHugh looking good in slow motion and fast in that first inning. Gave up a leadoff double, had a runner at third and one out, but struck out Jordan Pacheco and Carlos Gonzalez to keep the Rockies off the board. Now Willen Rosario will lead off the second inning for Colorado. Rosario last night hit his 20th home run off Ramon Ramirez in the seventh to give the Rockies a lead they would never relinquish. And with that, he tied the Rockies club record for home runs by a catcher. Charles Johnson hit 20 back in 2003, and no Rockies hit more. And Rosario putting himself in some rather elite company as far as rookie catchers are concerned at home runs. As right ranges wide, low throw, but it can't be scooped out at, but he gets it on the second pull, and Davis is able to recover in time to get Rosario. Boy, Ike's having some trouble today.
Well, the throw here, it's a short hop. I've never seen this. This is a great recovery if you think about it. I mean, I've never seen someone do that before.
Well, he's not done that twice. He did it on the bunt in the first inning, and now he does it on the pickup at first base.
The recovery going with the bare hand, I've never seen a first baseman make a recovery like that.
You never had to do that.
Well, that's not true. I've missed a few, more than my share.
But you're saying you never did that?
No.
You never recovered one.
I've never seen a first baseman in a close play, bang, bang, be able to do that. It never happened in my career.
Here's Tyler Colvin, and he takes ball one.
Interesting. I think you've seen it all.
Well, they always say you never know what you're going to see when you come to the ballpark.
That's true. And it is a beautiful day to be here.
Tyler Colvin having a terrific series. Has gone 5 for 11, a double, a homer, 3 stolen bases. Getting a chance to play every day.
Just got it in time. That's a good recovery by Ike.
And a nice call by Phil Colbreth, who stayed with the play after Ike couldn't handle the throw initially. And Colvin drives one the other way, just foul.
Going to start coming inside to him.
Colvin having a great month of August. He's hitting .369 this month. I always felt as though the Cubs gave up on him too early. When we got to see him in a Cubs uniform, he was always impressive.
Well, the Cubs can thank their lucky stars for the Houston Astros. They're just a mess over there.
Well, the Astros will be in here this weekend with their new interim manager, Tony DeFrancisco, who's yet to win. Tony's a Seton Hall guy, you know. Swing and a miss, 2-2 to Colvin.
Got to pitch Colvin inside. He's got a little bit of a long swing. And you know what's interesting, and I just don't want to make a big issue of it, but look at the necklace on McHugh. If you're going to enforce that sort of thing, then he shouldn't be allowed to wear that. It should be universal. Nothing on the neck, on the wrists, anything. Nothing, zilch, nada.
But let me ask you this. Anything other than the pitching arm, what does it matter? Is it a distraction if somebody's wearing a necklace or something on their glove hand?
Well, in the nighttime and in the sun, you could get nice curve. You could get a reflection from gold or silver.
Third strikeout for McHugh.
Beautiful curve here. This one just drops off. That's the best one he's thrown. Nicely done. Love that super slow, whatever it's called.
That's a great shot, isn't it? Showing the torque he gets on that curveball.
And you can see how he held used the four seams on that curve to get the most wind resistance.
So McHugh's now retired 5 in a row. Here's Chris Nelson with 2 out. And he takes low and inside. Nelson 1 for 4 in the series.
I mean, if you really, and we're going to take a look here real quick. The Astros are just abysmal. And we'll have a nice look at them for 3 days and won't be getting them out of town fast enough.
The Indians may be the only team colder than the Mets right now. The Indians have lost 21 of their last 25 after a pretty good start to their year.
Pretty much what they did last year. They got off to a good start and then collapsed.
2-1 to Chris Nelson, former Rockies first-round draft pick, playing third base for the second straight day.
Now, as a hitter, Gary, if we can get this in, I have the right as a hitter to go to the umpire. I really want to play with someone You wouldn't do it with Bob Gibson. He'd drill you. Just say, hey, Lance, Barksdale, that necklace is distracting me. I want it off. And he'd have to take it off.
He'd have to take it off?
I think he would.
Not the umpire's discretion?
Umpire would have to enforce it.
Hairston picks off the line drive from Nelson. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Colin McHugh. He's retired 6 in a row. No score in the second. Question for today were the 3 Rockies to lead the National League in home runs 3 straight years, 95 to 97, back when they were calling them the Blake Street Bombers. Those were the first 3 years of Coors Field, 95 through 97. Scott Hairston leads off against Tyler Chatwood in the home second. Hairston, the hottest hitter in the lineup, last 25 games hitting .357. Had another bullet last night, his last time up, a double off the fence and left. And getting more and more time against right-handers these days. And he hits one foul, and it's 0-2 to Hairston with Mike Baxter and Ruben Tejada to follow here in the home second. Hairston has the highest slugging percentage on the ball club. He's at .526. David Wright's at .517. Give you an idea how good a year Hairston has had.
He's been terrific, and we all know about what he's done against left-handers. But I tell you what, he's made a little hit righties well this year too. He got off to a slow start, but getting more playing time, more familiarity, and he's performed well against righties too. He doesn't get cheated. He's extremely dangerous.
Little looper toward the middle of the diamond, and LeMahieu runs it down for the first out. I think it really raises the question of what the Mets should do with Scott Hairston. I mean, he's not a young player. He's a guy who's really never had a chance to play every day. Do you bring him back next year and give him a full-time job? I mean, he's going to be 32 years old next year.
That's a tough one.
Or is he strictly a part-time player?
I think his role right here is satisfactory. You run him out there when he's hot. I mean, really, if you look at this Met club, if you look at the Baxters, the Murphys, the Hairstons, Cedeno, on a good ball club, they make your great bench.
Right.
You know, with us, we got them out there every day.
But here's the thing. When you look at the Mets outfield for next year, there's really nobody who's projectable as an absolute starting player. So if you've got Hairston, who at least gives you some power that you're lacking, as Baxter pulls one foul, why wouldn't you be tempted to say, okay, let's take one of our spots in the outfield and reserve it for this veteran player and say we're going to run him out there every day, and then figure out what you're going to do in the other two spots?
Well, you can do that. It all depends on what Sandy Alderson does in the offseason. I don't envy his job.
I mean, going back to the trading deadline, there's a lot of conversation about whether the Mets should trade Scott Hairston and get a prospect for him. And Sandy felt in his wisdom that he wasn't being offered a good enough prospect to justify that. And you'd have to think that part of that is that the Mets want to bring Hairston back next year. He'll be a free agent. He could sign anywhere at the end of the year. But here's a guy who's a great citizen.
Yep.
He's done a great job in a little more than a part-time role. He's played about 2/3 of the time, especially lately, as Baxter rips a base into center. And he gives you that third power bat with Wright and Davis that you just haven't, what you wanted to have from Lucas Duda, but it didn't quite work out.
Well, we do know that Terry was under a lot of pressure to make a move at the deadline. Sandy, excuse me, Alderson, and was resisted the pressure from the media, and you just don't know what's been offered. That's not ever revealed, and it's his judgment that there was not enough of a prospect down there. Then you keep him. Now we'll know a lot what we're going to go with as the offseason progresses, and what moves that Sandy makes to improve this ball club. So a lot of things have to be done. There's a lot of holes, and I just can't see, with the amount of holes that this team has, I just don't see it plugging all of them. It's not going to happen in one off season.
Right. Ruben Tejada dropped to 7th in the order today. First time since the 6th of May that he's hit lower than 2nd. As Terry Collins shakes up his batting order, just trying to get something going. Tejada's been one of his best hitters. He's batting at .309, 3 for 12 in this series. And backhanded by Rosario, a ball and a strike. Chadwood's a little all over the place with that fastball.
Yes, he is. Well, he's got an ERA almost 5.5, and this is why. If you look at his numbers, 31 in the third innings, only 12 walks coming in. That's not bad, but it just shows me when you fall behind and you come in, and that's when you get racky-tacked. And hitters are hitting .307 against him this year. So the walks to innings pitched can be deceptive. Okay, you fall behind 2-0, then you throw a fat one, and then look, there's a lot of other factors that go into that.
Did you say racky-tack?
Yes, I did. It's an old one. I'm a dinosaur.
1-2 to Tejada. I'm not sure I've heard that one before.
That wasn't one of my dad's. That must have been a Depression era term, racky-tack.
Got a little modern lilt to it. Doesn't sound like an old fogey phrase. I mean,
all my own.
Makes you sound contemporary.
Hey, when you're the Marquis de Sade, you listen, pay attention to him.
One and 2 to Tejada with Baxter at first, and he grounds that one foul. Josh Tolley waiting on deck. And Chatwood threw those 7 scoreless innings here last year as an Angel. It was the longest scoreless outing by a rookie visiting pitcher at Citi Field, so it was an outing to remember for Chatwood. So he's still yet to allow a run in this ballpark. Again, up and away with that fastball, and it's 2-2 to Tejada.
He's got 36 pitches now on or about. He's on that, 75 is the limit that Jim Tracy has established here with this ball club, the pitching staff, the starting rotation.
He let Jeff Francis throw 82 last night. That's a little over the norm. Alex White threw 83 in the first game of the series, but they've been pretty strict. Little looper into shallow right center, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Oh. Baxter made a mistake, and he's forced at second base. Baxter just had a brain cramp. That ball fell, and as it fell, he started back toward first base.
Well, this should not have happened. Plays right in front of you. You don't need any coaching help there. Mike's a good base runner. And I don't know what he's thinking there. I mean, it's not even close.
So it takes away a hit from Tejada. It goes as an 8-6 force play as Colvin throws it to Herrera to get the force on Baxter. So the Mets continue to get in their own way. Tejada now at first with 2 out, and here's Josh Thole. Josh is 0 for 5 in the series, just 8 for his last 53. Tejada gets an enormous jump and steals without anybody covering. I mean, he got 7 steps before Chatwood came out of his stretch.
Well, oh boy.
Only the 2nd stolen base of the season for Tejada. So now he's in scoring position with 2 out. And they're going to walk Thole intentionally and go after Colin McHugh.
Really?
Considering the way Tole's been swinging the bat, that comes as a bit of a surprise.
Good Lord.
I mean, if you're Jim Tracy, wouldn't you love to have the pitcher leading off the next inning?
This early in the game? Nothing ball game? Second inning? Are you kidding?
So Thole gets the intentional pass, and now McHugh will get his first big league at bat. Colin was 0 for 12 in the minor leagues this year, 2 for 18 in his minor league career. So McHugh, who's already thrown 2 scoreless innings, now has a chance to help himself at the plate. The last starting pitcher the Mets called up has acquitted himself quite nicely as a hitter. That would be Matt Harvey.
You can do it all. By the way, Harvey threw terrific last night. It's just a shame he couldn't have gone further. I know they got him on a pitch count. 103, 102 pitches last night. He was getting stronger. He was throwing just as hard as if it was the first inning. Nice cut by.
Matt also went 2 for 2 at the plate last night.
Yep, and he really threw great. He was that boring fastball moving it in and out, pitching inside. Really didn't throw that many, hardly any changeups. Not even a handful, and not that many breaking balls. He was just raw stuff. Power. I shouldn't say raw stuff.
I think he's found the right balance.
Yep.
I mean, he is a fastball pitcher who's got 3 other serviceable pitches.
Right.
And his fastball is his bread and butter. I think we've seen enough of him to know that.
He had a nice blend of blend of pitches last night.
Well, through half a dozen starts, he's got a 2.75 ERA, and there's much to be excited about with Matt Harvey. 0-2 to McHugh, and he tries to hold on the swing and stopped it in time. Gilden Colbrook with a call. 1-2 to McHugh.
Well, impressive with Harvey. We know it was the 43 strikeouts in 36 innings pitched, which is outstanding. The 15 walks in 36 innings. Well, he had that one bad outing that really
walked 5.
Right. So his walks, which were something that was kind of a yellow flashing light, have not shown themselves so far in his first 6 starts.
McHugh down on strikes as Chatwood threw it by him. Second strikeout for Tyler Chatwood. The Mets strand a pair with some bad base running. No score after 2. Dunkin' Donuts have been nice enough to bring some mocha almond iced coffee and some Oreo donuts. In fact, we have the two kinds of Oreo donuts. We have the cream-filled Oreo donuts, and then we have the,
look at that,
the ones with the hole. Are you going to partake?
Thank you, Gary. It's very kind of you.
You can have as many as you'd like. We have a dozen here, and I'm sure Dave Freed, our statistician, isn't going to eat them all.
How about Russ in the back?
Well, we have a lot of donut eaters. Of course, Al, the cameraman, would eat every single one of them himself if he could. Got your mocha almond coffee. Very nice. Thank you.
Al, you want some? There you go. Al, I tell you what, I'm worried about you. You got bad eating habits.
Colin McHugh takes the mound for the third inning in a scoreless game. He'll face 8-9-1 in the Colorado batting order. DJ LeMahieu, Tyler Chatwood, and Charlie Blackmon. McHugh has retired 6 in a row after giving up a leadoff double to Blackmon in the first inning. LeMahieu 1 for 9 in this series. He's played all the second base in these 4 games. Changes are coming for the Rockies. They're hoping to get Troy Tulowitzki back before too terribly long.
Well, they're not going to rush him back, that's for sure. He had that groin injury that required surgery, correct?
Yep.
Which means they had to reattach to the bone, which is...
I mean, it's very reminiscent of the injury that Mike Piazza had. Remember when he jumped away from home plate in that game in San Francisco?
Yes.
And tore that groin off the bone, and he missed nearly 3 months.
Well,
Mayhew pokes one the other way, and he's got himself a leadoff hit. So the Rockies have their second hit against McHugh, and now the pitcher Chatwood can come up to bunt. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin.
Time for our Verizon Ask the Booth on the homestand, guys. Found a couple of Mets fans, a couple of partial season ticket holders, as a matter of fact. Denise and Roseanne, both from Long Island. Now, Denise a little shy. She's going to stay in the background and not talk. Roseanne's going to talk. And we were chatting Mets, but then she had a little bit of an off-the-wall question, Keith. But I figured this would be good for you because I didn't have the specific answer. So, Roseanne, go ahead. Your call.
At the end of each inning, like if Ike makes a last out, how come when he comes in, he tosses the ball into the stands and gets a new warm-up ball from the dugout? And whose job is it to give him the new warm-up ball?
Subtleties, Keithy.
When I played, you weren't allowed to do that. You would throw the ball back into a coach, and there was always a coach that received the ball. It was usually Bud Harrelson. And, oh, boy, over his head there. So in today's game now, that almost hit him in the head. My goodness.
Just pulled the ejector switch in time.
We weren't even allowed to give ground balls that were in foul territory or the inning ending out they tossed to the fans today.
You get fined for that.
You get fined $100 for that. So that's all changed. So I guess it's all for the fan to keep them. There goes the runner.
Tolley's throw, a good one, and he got him. LeMahieu is gunned down. Nice throw by Josh Tolley for the first out.
So I guess to make a long story short, or a long answer short, and here's the throw from Tolley, is that there's no longer now. It's for the fans to give them a ball and have an experience to take home a major league ball. But
right, if you caught the final out at first base in your day, you'd roll that ball back to the mound.
Exactly.
The game ball, strike three call, as Chatwood takes that good curveball from McHugh, his 4th strikeout, first time through the batting order. And then the coach would throw you the ball as you were coming in.
Correct.
Right? Now they still throw the ball, but on that last out, the fielder will toss the ball into the stands to be fan friendly.
Correct.
It's a much more fan friendly game than it used to be.
And also, you know, Bill Robinson was one of the first coaches that I never cared when a ball's in the dirt, but it made sense. The ball, curveball or fastball in the dirt, it's going to get scuffed, the ball, on the dirt. And Bill Robinson made all of our attentions to, who was our hitting instructor, first base coach, said always ask the umpire to check the ball when it's in the dirt, because you don't want a scuff ball given back to the pitcher, particularly a guy like Don Sutton, who had enough medical equipment on his body to scuff it enough. to give a pitcher an undue advantage.
Performing surgery on the mound.
I mean, you know, what did Mike Scott do when he scuffed his ball? So it was to make his ball move more. So that's why I think that they get rid of the balls today, and everything's so pro hitter.
Everything's much cleaner than it used to be. There's the curveball pulled foul by Blackman. I mean, it used to be that a pitcher could get a new ball anytime he wanted it.
Correct.
But the hitter had to ask, and it was up to the umpire's discretion.
Precisely.
Now, anytime a ball is in the dirt, that ball's taken out of play.
And you had some umpires, you asked them to check a ball, they wouldn't check it if they were in a bad mood. They just say the ball's fine.
Blackman had an opposite field double leading off the game. This time McHugh's ahead of him 0-2. And he goes to the fastball 1-2. Well, I would imagine that they go through a lot more balls now in the course of a game because of that.
Yep.
Of course, the umpires have to rub up the balls before the game with that mud that they use, that Delaware River mud. And Blackman goes around on the curveball, and that's the 5th strikeout for Colin McHugh. So 3 very impressive innings for the first-time starter McHugh, showing off that curveball. No score at Citi Field. Newest Met Kelly Shoppick. Hear his thoughts on being traded to New York. Plus, catch up with Frank Viola at his latest gig with the Mets organization. On Mets Weekly, presented by W.B. Mason. New episode Sunday at 6, only on SNY. Frank back from his stint as an Olympic parent. His daughter Brittany competing in the Olympic diving competition.
I watched. Frank was a nervous wreck, was he not?
He's got that in him. Jordani Valdespin takes high and away. Valdespin walked and stole a base in the first inning. But imagine how proud he had to have been.
Oh, gosh. Can you imagine?
Valdespin hitting leadoff for just the 2nd time in his career. And he takes a strike from Chatwood. Ball and a strike. Mets had the leadoff man on in the first inning. They had 2 men on in the second. Should have been better, but a base running mistake by Mike Baxter cost the Mets a base runner. And a chance to scratch against Chatwood in that 2nd inning. Valdespin takes the high curveball as he runs up to bunt, and it's 2-1. Valdespin always a threat to lay one down, and that forces the corners in. Although the first baseman Pacheco not buying it, he's backing up. Might be a nice time to drag one.
Oh, threw it right by him, up and in. Watch the delivery here. It's something peculiar here. When he pulls it from his glove, big leg kick right there, tucked, and it almost like he's going to throw like a catcher, but then he brings it back. It's interesting.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to cock the ball near his ear the way a catcher does. Mets have worked some long turns at bat against Chatwood early in this game. His 10th batter, already up to 50 pitches. And Valdespin tries to hold, and he stopped it in time. Gary Cederstrom with the call, and it's 3-2.
Here's a different angle. See how he kind of looks like he's going to cock it and throw it like a catcher from the ear, but then he brings it back.
And Valdespin has a base hit. So Valdespin put in the leadoff spot. He's led off 2 innings and gotten aboard both times.
Well, good hitting by Valdespin. Not much of a little cutter that didn't cut much, and he's on it nicely.
So the Mets have their second hit. There's Gabby Douglas, who threw out the first pitch today. Said she's not a huge baseball fan, but she did a passable job throwing that first pitch.
She reached it on a fly, and she didn't cheat. She wasn't in front of the mound.
That's all you ask, right?
Good for her.
She's quite an athlete. What a great performance she put on at the Olympics. Here's Daniel Murphy, who struck out his first time up. And the curveball from Chatwood in for a strike. Murphy in a 3-for-35 skid right now, trying to fight his way out of it. Valdespin's already stolen a base today. He's on at first with nobody out. Stole second as Murphy struck out in the first, and he's going this time, and Murphy swings and misses. Rosario's throw a better one, and he got him.
Well, that's a hit and run right there, and Murph usually good with a hit and run, and it just shows me he's struggling. Another pitch up in the strike zone, under it. And we'll see if Valdespin peeks back. I'm sure it's a hit and run. I mean, Terry's got to be up. Terry's got to do something to try to get some offense going.
By the way, Rosario's got a pretty strong arm.
Yes, he does.
And Murphy is out on strikes.
Wow.
So a tough go for Murph early in this game.
I sense some demoralization. Upstairs again. He's got to get on top. Oh, that's the same. That's the hit and run. I'm sorry.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now David Wright. David grounded out to short his first time up. 88 at bats now since that last home run that got him to 199 in his career. It's 4 days shy of a month ago since David's last home run. He's also been stuck on 75 RBIs for about 10 days.
Thought he had that one. The old-fashioned piping right there. I love it.
Now Chatwood behind 2-0, and David grounds one through the hole, a base hit. Well, they give him an enormous hole on the right side of the infield, and Wright takes advantage of it for a 2-out single.
Well, the reason why they played him for the pull here is the fact that he's been pulling so much this series. If you look at Ike Davis, move out to left field, his first at bat.
So Wright at first with 2 down. David was caught stealing last night. His stolen base percentage is very poor this year. He has 12 steals. He's now been caught 10 times. Got a very short lead now. And Davis takes a fastball for a strike.
I think at this point in David's career, when you're young and you're strong and you want to do everything, and now, you know, it's about staying strong. Offense is most important. You're not paying David to steal bases. You're paying David to drive in runs, hit in the clutch. So stay strong. Pick your spot. Steal 15.
And I think also as David has gotten older and filled out a little bit, I don't think he's quite as fast as he used to be. Still an above average runner. Chatwood quickly ahead on Davis, 0-2.
Chatwood, when they want to throw the fastball into left-hand hitters, he is not comfortable with that. He's missed so much up and away when the catcher's been setting up in. And if you're paying attention and watching from the bench, I mean, you can see where the catcher's setting up. And you can see it obviously at home with the center field camera behind the pitcher. It's obvious, and it's also just as obvious if you're paying attention in the first base dugout, Met dugout. If you're a left-hand hitter, you're watching how he pitches, Chatwood pitches every lefty the entire game. Try to find a pattern, what he likes to do, what his strengths and weaknesses are. His weaknesses, pitching inside.
Setting up again inside, and again he misses high.
There you go. He's not comfortable with that. So that tells me right there, you can just go cover the out, middle out. You can cover the plate, and if he pops one in there once in a while, he'll get it right once in a while. Take it. But the percentages are he's going to go away. Boy, that's right where you extend your hands and you're on it like a rash.
Now Wright gets set to run with 3-2 and 2 down. And Davis takes it wide for ball 4, and so the Mets have 2 men on. Second walk, make it the third given up by Chatwood, the second unintentional walk. So Scott Hairston will get a chance with 2 men on. Mets numbers with runners in scoring position have been diminishing. Last night 1 for 6, and in the month of August the Mets are hitting just 182 as a team with runners in scoring position. 0 for 3 so far today. But they're still better than any team in the league with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. 277 for the year. And a chance here for Hairston with 2 out and 2 on. Hairston hit a soft liner to the second baseman his first time up. Chatwood working with 2 out and 2 on, and Hairston hits one to center field, and Colvin has it lined up as he retreats, and that retires the side. So Hairston making a bid. Chatwood strands a couple of Mets. No score after 3. Let's check in with Kevin, who's standing by with the gold medalist.
Not every day you get a chance to do that, Gary. Honored to stand here with Gabby Douglas, the overall gold medalist for the team and then the all-around gold medalist. I'm just watching you for 2 minutes, and I've seen you take 42,000 pictures. I mean, how many photos have you taken and have you gotten used to just walking around? Everyone want to take a picture with you and getting to kind of say hi.
Well, I have no idea how many photos or autographs are signed or taken, but it's a fabulous feeling because it's nice to know that people have your back and have supported you and have prayed for you, and it's nice to know that the crowd is just definitely behind you. But I've gotten used to it. You just see random flashes everywhere. You're just like, whoa, okay. But it's nothing but amazing, and it's part of the game. It's part of the journey.
Funny, guys. Even a matter of fact, Sarah Hughes, the gold medal figure skater, just is in the crowd. Came up and she's going to take a picture with Gabby later too. So it's a fun scene. You know, I was thinking when you were talking to everybody before of all the training you did, all the hard work you did. You know, not everybody makes the Olympic team, let alone wins gold medals. Would it have been worth it for you if you went through all that your whole life and didn't make the team? Because not everyone is lucky to do that.
Yeah, only a few get to experience the Olympics, but if I didn't make it, then I could have said that I gave it my all and I put 100% in, and I moved to Iowa to get better training, and if that didn't work out, then at least I say that I tried everything and I put my all into it.
How hard was that to pick up? You moved from Virginia Beach and you go to Iowa to train with a specific coach. How hard was that decision?
It was so tough, and I made that at a young age. I was 14 when I made that decision, but
it's hard to leave home at that time.
It was hard to leave home, but if you have a dream and you realize this dream that you can accomplish, and nothing can stop you, so you go from here, and you want to make your dream come alive. So you would do anything to make it happen.
Talking to gold medalist Gabby Douglas here with one out. You know, did you ever think at 16 years old you could be an inspiration for so many people? I mean, so many people come up to you just say, oh, it's a pleasure to meet you, and you've inspired them.
I did have it in the back of my mom. I just remember me and my mom talking about it, and my mom said, you can inspire a nation. And the whole quote about the Olympic Games was inspire a generation. So my perspective was a little off about inspiring a nation, because let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Me and my mom and my agent Cheryl, we were walking down Rodeo Drive, and people were in their cars driving saying, there's Gabby Douglas. They would jump out of the car to take a picture with me. So I never expected that. I mean, it's a little bit crazy, but...
I read you delayed a plane one time. Is that right?
Yes.
What was that story? Is David Wright's going to field this grounder, and there's two away? Tell me about that one.
Well, one person spotted me saying, can I have a picture? And when there's one, there's 100 pictures saying, oh, there's Gabby Douglas, oh, there's Gabby Douglas. And the pilot had jumped off the plane and said, guys, you're going to miss your flight. You need to get on the plane. And they're like, no, I need to get my picture of Gabby Douglas. I'm going to miss my flight. It's worth it. It's worth it. So things like that are definitely crazy.
Let me ask you one thing in case the inning ends here. Just can you give the fans at home an idea of a regular day, what your routine was in training? I mean, how tough was it? Give me your day from wake up to finish and what it took to become a gold medalist.
It definitely took a lot. I just remember every day I did so many routines, and Chow just told me to keep pushing it, and even my coach Lee told me to keep pushing it, because we want the hard days to be now, and when you get to London, you're going to be cruising along. You're going to do a fewer routine, less routine to save your body. So a normal day with me would be get up in the morning, do a few routines in the morning, and then in the afternoon I would do even more routines, probably like 5. So it was so hard because my body started to wear down at the end of the week and I got tired, but I still pushed it, and Chow and Lee were right. When I got to London, I just cruised along.
Where do you have the gold medals?
Somewhere safe.
Gabby, absolute pleasure. Congratulations. Amazing what you accomplished.
Thank you so much.
Guys, she's pretty good with the media thing, too. Who knows? Maybe she could be doing baseball in a couple years. Let's go back up to you.
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks to Gabby, a very impressive young lady.
I'll say. And I think the more important message there, if I can get this in, is don't be afraid to fail. She said, if I didn't make it, at least I put my all into it. You know, if you don't be afraid to fail. And the other thing is, in any walk of life, nothing's handed to you. It's hard work and dedication. And obviously that young lady right there put all the time in and the hard work, made the sacrifice going to Iowa, and look at her now on top of the world.
She learned a very important lesson at a very young age. A walk to Carlos Gonzalez, and so the Rockies have a 2-out base runner. First walk given up by Colin McHugh, who continues to be very impressive. Got some help from Ruben Tejada on that first ground ball of the inning, throwing out a very speedy Jonathan Herrera at first. Here's Willen Rosario, who grounded out to third his first time up. Colin McHugh, 4 weeks to the day after Matt Harvey's big league debut. Matt struck out 11 in Arizona in his first start. McHugh's already struck out 5. And it's outside to Rosario, 1-0. Talked about Rosario his first time up and his historic power as a rookie catcher. Today is Rosario's 100th major league game, and he's hit 23 home runs going back to last year. 22 of the 23 as a catcher. And that ties him for the most home runs as a catcher in Major League history in a player's first 100 games. The only other catcher who hit that many home runs in his first 100 games was Bill Schroeder with the Brewers back in '85. Bill, now a Brewers broadcaster. There's a call strike to Rosario, 1-1. There are only 4 other players who hit as many as 20 home runs as a catcher in their first 100 games. Carlton Fisk, Bobby Estalella, J. Pierre Ancibia, who's now in Toronto, and Rudy York. And York did it despite catching only 50 games. He had 20 home runs as a catcher in only 50 games.
Wow. Red Sox.
2-1 to Rosario.
It's back in the Ted Williams days, right? 50s.
So Rosario's in some pretty heady company and very much in the conversation for National League Rookie of the Year. Although the guy who I think has to be the favorite won again last night, Wade Miley in Arizona. 8 scoreless innings against the Marlins. He's now 14-8, 2.80. I don't think there's any offensive player who can quite measure up with that. Rosario pops one up, and Davis looking through the sunglasses. Has it. 4 scoreless innings for Colin McHugh. And matched so far by one terrific toss from Gabby Douglas. Got it to Robert Carson. Nicely done.
That's
another
a 10.
goal.
That's a 10.
One of the most important things for the Mets to find out this September with an eye toward 2013. Tweet us at SNYTV with the hashtag SNYMets and let us know what you think. Time for Dialed In, presented by Verizon, where Keith takes the topic of the day and runs with it.
Well, I think what would be appropriate to talk about today's Dialed In would be we got the young man out there pitching for the Mets. And Colin McHugh, still a fine ball game thus far, and talk about the future of the pitching of the Mets. We've got Zach Wheeler, who is just getting rave reviews around the scouting. I talked to a lot of scouts that have seen him pitch in Binghamton and Buffalo, and they all love him. Juris Familia, who's got great stuff, been struggling. Henry Mejia, who's probably going to be called up in September, coming off of the surgery. This is the future of the ball club, the young pitching staff. And if you're going to rebuild, and you've got to start with pitching, and this is an organization, Gary, you're an old Met fan, the old Mets were always built around pitching. So it's a good start, good future as far as the pitching is concerned, and you can build from there.
New York native Adam Ottavino on in relief for Colorado after Tyler Chatwood went the first 3 innings. Rockies sticking with their low pitch count for their starters, and Mike Baxter takes a strike. It's 1-1. So a couple of New Yorkers facing each other here. Baxter out of Archbishop Molloy, and Ottavino, who went to the Berkeley Carroll School in Brooklyn. So it's like a Queens-Brooklyn rivalry here. And Baxter late on the fastball, and it's 1-2. We were told last night that Ottavino was going to be the piggyback pitcher for the Rockies. Turned out it was today. He left some 150 tickets for family and friends. Had a terrific college career at Northeastern, and then was a first-round pick by the Cardinals in 2006. Pitched a little for the Cardinals 2 years ago. And came over to the Rockies on waivers at the end of spring training this year, and now getting a chance to pitch out of the bullpen for Colorado.
I just got to weigh in. I know Ronnie felt the same way. Our esteemed colleague Ron, Chatwood, 3 innings, no runs, 2 hits, 3 walks, 1 intentional, 3 strikeouts. He's in the shower.
65 pitches.
I don't get it. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. How are you going to develop a 22-year-old when he's in there taking a shower after 3? I don't get it.
Well, the reason that the Rockies say that they've gone to this system now is because they didn't feel as though they had enough starting pitching. So they, instead of going with 5 starters the way most teams do now, they're going with 4 and having them go with shorter pitch counts, piggybacking them with long relievers, and try to
can't find someone,
make the sausage that way.
And you're in last place. Where are you going? What about the future and the development of your pitchers?
Well, they are talking about doing the same thing next year out of spring training. Now, they've been doing this since June, and the numbers will tell you that they're about the same since they made the move, although they certainly pitched well in this series.
Okay.
So, just
carry 9 pitchers in the bullpen. Be my guest.
Just another way to slice it.
When's the new invention?
Well, I mean, it really is when you think about it. It's the next step in the progression, right? You went from pitchers who were expected to go 9 innings, and it was the exception to the rule that they didn't. Then you got pitchers who were expected to go 6 or 7 innings with maybe 1 reliever. Now it's 6 or 7 innings with 4 or 5 relievers finishing up a game, and the Rockies have taken that to the next step. 75 pitches, which often means 3 or 4 innings. Baxter works out a 9-pitch walk, and he's aboard to lead off against Ottavino. Well, I think so Queens wins that battle from Brooklyn.
The common denominator here for this very unusual pitching style of usage is a 5.31 earned run average, is the worst in the National League. So they just, if they had decent starting pitching, halfway decent starting pitching, mediocre starting pitching, they wouldn't have to do it.
Now, part of it is they've got
tons of injuries.
6 starting pitchers on the disabled list, including Jorge De La Rosa, who would have been the ace of their staff. So, it all trickles down from there. Here's Ruben Tejada, who hit what looked like a base hit his first time up, a ball that fell into right center field, but Baxter got confused on the base paths and got forced at second, taking a hit away from Tejada, and he takes a breaking ball for a strike. Ruben hitting 7th in the order, a rarity for him. When the year began, he was hitting down in the order, and that was certainly the plan. The plan was for Andres Torres to be the everyday leadoff hitter, but Torres got hurt opening day. Nobody else really worked out, and Tejada found a home in that leadoff spot. But Terry Collins trying something a little different today. Down the right field line, Blackman coming over near the sidewall, but it's out of play. 0-2 to Tejada. So far, you'd have to say it's worked out the way Terry intended. He put Valdespin in the leadoff spot. He's gotten on twice. But Tejada down in the 7-hole. He had what should have been a hit his first time up. But the Mets somehow have found a way not to score, despite 3 hits and 3 walks in the first 3 innings.
Well, the manager can make all the right moves, and if the players don't execute, On the other end of the coin, a manager can make all the wrong moves, and the wrong guys he puts in execute, and he looks like a genius.
Line to center. On comes Colvin to make the running catch. Baxter scrambling to get back and does so. So Tejada hit that ball on the nose. 1 out and 1 on. Now Josh Thole will come to bat. Josh was intentionally walked his first time up. Just thinking the Rockies came in here this series with a virtually unrecognizable team.
Yep.
With Tulowitzki and Helton and you know all the people they have out of the lineup.
And a September call-up lineup.
Right.
Roster.
So the Astros come in tomorrow night. Who do they have who fans will recognize?
Well, we know one thing. They've got the worst record in baseball. That's what they'll bring into town.
Well, they have their all-star second baseman, Jose Altuve, who's had a very nice season, still hitting over 300. But they've traded away virtually every other recognizable name, from Carlos Lee to Wandy Rodriguez and on and on. So they are playing a hodgepodge of very young players.
And very odd that Carlos Lee was traded to Miami, and then to hopefully bolster that ball club, and then they wound up selling everybody after that.
Well, they tried to trade Carlos Lee, but he turned down the trade to the Yankees. 0-2 now to Thole, and Josh slashes one foul. And even some moderately well-known names for the Astros. Jed Lowry, who had a great series against the Mets in Houston, he's hurt right now. Jordan Schaefer, the former Brave, who'd been playing center field, he's hurt. So they've gone even further down the depth chart.
Guys get hurt.
And what makes it even more strange with the Astros coming in this weekend, the Mets and Astros, they were then the Colt 45s, came into the National League the same year in 1962. Rosario throwing behind Baxter and he gets back. And they've always been rivals because of that, because they entered the league at the same time. As you look at the city probables for tomorrow, John Neese going for his 11th win against Jordan Lyles. And the trip that the Astros will make to Citi Field this weekend will be their last as a National League team.
That's right.
They are moving to the American League West next year, and the Mets will see them only once in a while in interleague play. Hit off the fists, charging is Herrera, and he makes the running throw in time to get Thole for the second out as Baxter goes to second. Josh better check his thumbs.
That's getting sawed off. Even with the 2-inch choke up.
So 2 out now Colin McHugh for his second big league at bat. Been a very impressive start so far for McHugh, who struck out in his only at bat. We mentioned that McHugh starting 4 weeks to the day after Matt Harvey made his major league debut. It's pretty rare for the Mets to debut 2 starting pitchers within a month. Last time it happened was in 2003 when Jason Roach, who most people probably don't remember, and Aaron Heilman both made their debuts as starters just 12 days apart.
Ooh, good breaking ball right there. Where was it, Ump? Wake up.
For that, 1995, Bill Pulsipher and Jason Isringhausen made their debuts a month apart, part of Generation K. So the Mets are rolling out the new wave of starters little by little. And McHugh pops one up. And the third baseman Nelson puts it away, and that retires the side. So Ottavino works around a leadoff walk. We are through 4 at Citi Field. Mets and Rockies, no score. fifth inning in his big league debut. Matt Harvey struck out 11 in his first big league outing, and McHugh got started early. A couple of strikeouts in the first inning to strand a runner at third. Then he unleashed the curveball, and all of a sudden McHugh finds himself with 5 strikeouts in his first 4 big league innings. So McHugh, who has had a very good year in the minor leagues, a 2.88 ERA, 12 starts in Binghamton, 12 starts in Buffalo, has held the Rockies off the board over the first 4 innings this afternoon. A lot of kids in the crowd today. Mets did a ticket promotion today where an adult ticket could bring in 3 kids free. So a whole bunch of kids have made their way into the ballpark for this afternoon game with the temperature in the low 80s. Tyler Colvin will lead off in the 5th inning for Colorado. Let's check in with Kevin.
And Tyler still swings a maple bat. That despite, Gary, as you well remember, September 2010, a member of the Cubs on third base, and he got impaled by a short of a maple bat. Came home and he said, you know, he was not looking at the bat at all. He was looking at the flight of the ball. Came home and got whacked in the upper right pec with it. And he didn't even realize. He just thought, you know, something hit him, kind of got the wind knocked out of him, and he got to home plate. And Jeff Samar just said, dude, you're bleeding. And of course, trainers came out and take a look. He ended up in the hospital, and he had a partially collapsed lung from it. Obviously a scary experience. He was lucky it was there and not in his neck, but he said, you know, it hasn't deterred me from using maple. I've used maple all my life, and I still use it now. You know, it's just one of those things that I've liked the feel of it my whole career coming up, ever since I started using it. And despite that incident, I'm not going to stop using it.
Well, I think we've seen some progress in Major League Baseball with the breaking of bats. They have introduced tougher standards over the last couple of years, partially in the wake of that particular incident. There was a time 2 or 3 years ago where these bats were breaking in unnatural ways with regularity. This one's hit to left field, and Hairston moving in the sunshine to grab it. 1 out.
You know, Garrett, there was a time that, you know, down here in the camera well, there's a baseball authenticator from MLB here every game. And there was a time, they don't do it as much anymore, I would say, but literally every broken maple bat during a game they took. And that wasn't to sell. That was to go to a lab to be tested to find out how they can make them differently and make them stronger. And hopefully that has led to the increase in, you know, the less severe breaking of the bats, as you say.
Well, you know, there was a time when there was one prime bat maker, and all the bats were made of ash. I mean, Hillerich and Bradsby, Louisville Slugger, they were the one, and then Adirondack was the second bat manufacturer. And then, you know, about 15 years ago, the maple bats started coming in, and all of a sudden you had all these small bat manufacturers all over the country and in Canada as well producing Major League bats. And I think there was a time when it got a little out of hand, and now Major League Baseball has taken a lot firmer grasp of the manufacture of bats and who is allowed to make big league bats, and, you know, the standards that they have to adhere to so that they don't shatter in the ways that had become prevalent a few years ago.
Well, I think it all tied into the home run era. It was brought on by the steroids and all the big home runs, this ridiculous 70 home runs a year that just bored me to death. And the commissioner's office, I blame them. I mean, I don't, for not paying attention. Those maple bats are as hard as lead pipes. It was all about bringing offense to the game, ridiculous offense to the game. And I laid at the doorstep of the commissioner's office. They know what they're doing.
Chris Nelson lined out to left his first time. Well, let me ask you a question, Keith. Do you think that baseball would be better served by going back to ash only?
Yes. Go to white ash. Restrict it. The heck with the other baseball bat companies. The same thing happened with aluminum bats. People get hurt. They want to make bats out of white ash. They're more pliable. The maple bats aren't as pliable, don't bend as much, and that's why they snap, and someone can get hurt. And the ball goes further. And that's all they wanted was more runs.
Curveball for a call, third strike. McHugh breaking out that hook for his 6th strikeout.
Well, he's got the good curveball.
Well, this was the scouting report on Colin, that he could throw 4 pitches, but that curve was his number 1.
And I think all this started with the strike of the World Series, which I felt was a major error in judgment by the Players Association. fans were turned off, and really what saved the game was the home run chase between McGuire and Sosa. Well, we know now that that was artificial, and that brought in a whole bad black area in the game.
1-1 to DJ LeMahieu, who had a base hit his last time up.
And I just got tired of seeing 160, 70-pound shortstops or second basemen breaking their bats and hitting home runs down the opposite field. Ridiculous. We're getting back to it now.
McHugh ahead in the count, 1-2. And LeMahieu down on strikes. 7 strikeouts in 5 scoreless innings in his big league debut for Colin McHugh. Halfway through, no score. The answer to our AT&T trivia question, the 3 Rockies to lead the National League in home runs in the Blake Street Bombers days. Kind of the era that Keith was talking about. Dante Bichette, the Big Cat, Andres Galarraga, and Larry Walker led the National League in home runs those 3 years.
Andres Galarraga was quite a player and quite a fielding first baseman, too. The Big Cat, they called. Almost they called Johnny Mize the Big Cat.
Is he as good a right-handed throwing first baseman as you've seen?
Yes, he was he was an outstanding fielder, and you wouldn't think so because he was kind of a roly-poly type body. He was like a little panda bear, but he was quicker, very quick, wonderful man.
Yep,
wonderful individual,
an absolute hero back in his native Venezuela. Jordani Valdespin hitting leadoff today. He's reached twice with a walk and a single. He's stolen a base and been caught once. And Adam Ottavino gets it over for a strike, 1-1. Valdespin, Murphy, and Wright as the Mets try and break the scoreless tie in the bottom of the 5th. Tyler Chatwood went the first 3 for the Rockies, allowed no runs, 3 hits. Ottavino now working his second inning, the Brooklyn native. And a bunt attempt by Valdespin, but right back to Ottavino, who kind of gooses it over to first base, but gets it there in time. Boy, pitchers throwing the ball to first. Sometimes it's a real adventure.
Well, let's take a peek at Daniels. 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. He does not strike out a lot, so he's in a funk. Let's take a look. He's swinging under the high ball right now a little bit, and it's been one of those years for him. He's stops and starts.
Well, he's had some searing hot streaks right now in a 3 for 36 cold streak,
which is unusual for him, and he's had 2 of them now this year. He's always been one of the Mets' most consistent hitters.
David Wright waiting on deck. The Mets getting another fine starting pitching performance today. They've got that this entire series to no avail so far. Just trying to find some offense. Colin McHugh looking unfazed in his first big league start. You know, they compared him to Dylan G, and it's the way G was when he first came up.
Yep.
Completely unflappable. Two and one now to Murphy. And fooled badly on that fastball. It's 2-2. Doesn't look right.
It doesn't. Was it a changeup?
No, it was 93.
So he's not covering the outside part of the plate, and that to me says that Daniel's in a slump, because Daniel really loves that ball outer half.
And they set up away, and Murphy taps it slowly, might get a hit out of this, and it dies in the grass. An infield hit for Daniel Murphy. That can be a slump buster. First hit against Adam Ottavino.
The line drive in the papers tomorrow. Just tops it right in front, kills some worms out there in front, home plate. Started out in foul territory.
It's a line drive on the internet too.
That's true.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now David Wright, who took advantage of a big hole on the right side of the infield to go the other way for a base hit his last time up. 1 for 2 on the day. 1 out and 1 on. And Ottavino paints the outside corner. 0-1.
Well, it's funny what can happen over the airwaves too. I told the story. I'll make a long story short. My old manager Ken Boyer, and MVP 1964 for the Cardinals, hated Harry Carey. They hated each other, and I won't go into the reasons why, but to make a long story short, Harry Carey would be on the air. He had no TV. And Boyer told me the story. Hit a line drive to end a game in Chicago, and Harry Carey said, well, there's a lazy little soft fly ball to left field, and I'll be back for the recap.
So you're saying it's a line drive if the announcer says it's a line drive.
Correct. So there's the. So he said Harry did that to him the whole time Harry was there in Ken's career, until Ken became a star and he had to make peace with him. It's early in Ken's career.
Chris, Harry wound up getting run out of St. Louis.
Yes, he did.
Anyway,
for reasons we won't talk about either.
And he was with the White Sox for a while. Wasn't he in Oakland at one point?
I'm
also,
not sure, but I remember that White Sox broadcast with Jimmy Pearsall.
That was funny.
Oh, vicious.
Well, they would have some great exchanges, too.
When the White Sox weren't good back then. And I used to, after a day game at Wrigley, because when he was Harry and Pearsall were broadcasting, there was no lights at Wrigley, so you always had the day games. Before I went out to eat dinner, I'd watch a couple innings of the White Sox game. Just to listen to them, because you didn't know what was going to come out of their mouths.
Two from Ottavino to right, and he gets him with a slider. So David is a strikeout victim. First for Ottavino, and there are 2 out in the inning.
Chase the bat slider.
Here's how the classic exchange would go between Harry Carey and Jimmy Pearsall. Jimmy would say, "Harry, you're crazy." And Harry would go, "Yeah, Jimmy, but you have the papers to prove it."
Yeah, right. Oh, I love when Pearsall, here's a guy that ran around the bases backwards on a home run.
Against Dallas Green. And how Dallas didn't take a swing at him. And knowing Dallas, I don't know.
And he called guys hot dogs. I couldn't believe it. I forget who it was. Someone did a home run trot. And he said on the air, Pearsall, I mean, he just said that hot dog running around the bases, hit him right in the head next time. Now, didn't after that, was he a Met when he did that?
Yes.
And they released him after that?
Right afterward, yep. 2-0 to Ike Davis, who's flied out and walked 0 for 1. It was his 100th career home run, which was why he ran backwards around the bases. And just to make it clear, backwards around the bases, he didn't run by way of third. He ran like a cornerback, backwards.
Right. Backpedaled the whole way around.
In the proper direction.
And of course, they made the movie Fear Strikes Out, the Jimmy Pearsall story. And Carl Malden played his domineering father just brilliantly.
Yeah, but poor Tony Perkins, who's a great actor. I mean, he could not portray a baseball player.
That is really an interesting story and an interesting movie. It's a dark movie because obviously you got a man that had a nervous breakdown, was put in a hospital and mental institution, and the father that pushed him and pushed him and pushed him to the brink of a collapse, an emotional collapse. It was really a good movie. But you just got to not look at Tony Perkins in uniform,
right,
pretending to throw and swing.
Right.
But Carl Malden, anything that Carl Malden has ever performed in, he's an artist. And there's a lot of actors out there. Carl Malden was an artist.
Murphy gets set to run, 3-2 and 2 out. And Davis draws a walk. Second time today that Ike has gotten on with a walk. Mets have drawn 5 walks today. They've already left 6 runners on base over the first 4 innings, and Scott Hairston will get another crack at it. Scott came up with 2 out and 2 on in the third, swung at the first pitch he saw and flied out to fairly deep center field. Comes up again with 2 out and 2 on with the game still scoreless.
I remember, Gary, just to go one last comment on the Fear Strikes Out movie. He's in the minor leagues, Jimmy Pearsall, and he's second in the league in hitting, and his father comes and visits him to see him play, and he's red hot, and he's all excited. Tells his dad, hitting 356 or whatever, and he goes, well, where are you in the league? He goes, I'm second in the league. He said, not good enough. And then just the look on Anthony Perkins' face was just perfect, because he was crestfallen because he wanted to please the father. You know how the whole thing goes, so we're not all perfect.
I know you know how the whole thing goes.
I can relate to a bit to that. That was the extreme in that movie, and but I can relate to a lot of stuff that went on in that film. So, but it's okay to be pushed, but not to a point of a nervous breakdown.
Well, you never climbed the screen at Fenway Park.
No.
Murphy at second, Davis at first with 2 down. Mets trying to get on the board here in the 5th. Scoring has been a huge issue for this team. 5 straight games they've scored 2 runs or less. Nothing so far today. And Hairston again swinging at the first pitch, pops this one up. Rosario coming back, and he's got room, and that retires the side. So Hairston fouls out, stranding 2 more. Mets have left 8 over the first 5 innings. No score. Well, more of the Mets' future on display this afternoon with the Major League debut of Colin McHugh, and it has gone wonderfully so far. There are his parents, Scott and Teresa McHugh, in from Georgia to watch their son pitch, and what more could you want than to watch your son pitch 5 scoreless innings to start his big league career?
They got to be extremely happy, but they're also very nervous. They want him to get a W.
Adam Ottavino will take the turn at bat. He's turned in 2 scoreless innings of relief, 1 for 5 this year. And McHugh just missed with that fastball, and it's 2-0.
Well, evidently they had a 15 members, family members and friends that came up on a 6 a.m. flight from Atlanta this morning.
So tired but happy. There's a strike. McHugh with 7 strikeouts in the first 5 innings, perhaps trying to chase down the mark that Matt Harvey set earlier this year. Mets club record for strikeouts in a debut with 11. And now he's behind the opposing pitcher 3-1. Colin has walked 1. He's given up just 2 hits. A double to Charlie Blackmon in the first, and there's Blackmon on deck. A single to DJ LeMahieu in the third. Three and 2 now to Ottavino. McHugh's kept his pitch count fairly low. He's only at 76 pitches, and that one's fought off.
Well, I was just texted by Steve Barkin from Stratomatic about Rudy York when he hit the home runs. He did it in the late 30s, so I stand corrected. It's way off. I said the 50s.
It's okay. You're occasionally wrong. There goes Ottavino down on strikes. 8 strikeouts for McHugh, including his last 3. On a difficult time for the Mets. Their future is awaiting, and their future is very much tied up in their pitching. The Bisons are an under 500 team, but with Wheeler and Mejia and Familia all waiting down on the farm, there's plenty to hope for there. Not so much in the position players. Matt Dendecker has struggled since being called up to Buffalo, but then again he struggled when he first was called up to St. Lucie and struggled when he was called up to Binghamton, and each time adjusted to that level. But Dendecker, a Gold Glove caliber center fielder, perhaps. If he can hit at all, he's going to be here.
Well, he tore up Double-A, correct?
Right, but when he first got to Double-A, it wasn't easy for him the last year. Blackmon hits one out to right, and Baxter retreats and pulls it in for the second out. Meanwhile, at Binghamton, Reese Havens just trying to stay healthy this year. He's been such trouble with his injury issues. Wilmer Flores, who was moved this year from shortstop to third base, still only 21 years old, his 5th year in the organization. Darren Gorski, very interesting young pitcher. Brad Holt, who was an early round draft pick. Some of the names working in Binghamton this year. 2 out and nobody on. Here's Jonathan Herrera, tries the drag bunt and fouls it off. Herrera was thrown out on a terrific play by Tejada his last time up, going in the hole and getting him by an eyelash at first base. Now that's a sign I'm not familiar with. Do you know what that means?
No.
I mean, we're used to the open mouth, closed mouth. There are some of the prospects further down in the farm system, and for a franchise that needs a power bat, Corey Vaughn, son of a 50 home run hitter, 21 home runs this year in a tough home run hitters league in the Florida State League. And so that's worth keeping an eye on.
Absolutely, and that is impressive, the 21 home runs, because it's the heavy air down there, obviously the humidity of summer in Florida. We all know about that. And they're playing in a lot of major league spring training sites with big parks. And St. Lucie is a big park, so that is impressive.
Well, Corey first showed his wares in Brooklyn a couple of years ago and got a little bit of a taste of what he might be able to provide down the road. I mean, you know, his father was a big home run hitter.
Yes, he was.
Greg Vaughn. 1-2 for McHugh, and the curveball bounced foul by Herrera. And further down the list in the farm system, the Brooklyn Cyclones, Kevin Plawecki, who was a first-round draft pick this year, a catcher, which is significant because the Mets don't have a lot of catching prospects. And last year's #1 pick, Brandon Nimmo, who after a slow start has begun to turn it on for Rich Donnelly and the Cyclones, who are having a good year. Popped up on the left side, easy for Tejada, and that retires the side. Colin McHugh, 6 scoreless innings. He's got 8 strikeouts. What a debut so far for McHugh. Now the Mets will try and get him a run in the bottom of the 6th.
Koufax was the first baseman on the baseball team here. Fred Wilpon, our owner, was the star pitcher. I always tell him that he was the best pitcher to ever come out of Lafayette High School, just to brown him up a little bit. But you know, he was a good athlete, and it was just a good guy to play for.
No score. Rex Brothers comes on in relief for Colorado.
Well, for Brothers, this is his third Wago here. So he's the second left-hander out there with Matt Reynolds. He's the hard thrower.
He's worked 2 1/3 scoreless innings in this series. Mike Baxter leads off in the home 6th and takes a strike. Baxter's been aboard twice with a single and a walk. Ruben Tejada and Josh Tolley to follow.
Gary, you brought up a good point. They let Ottavino hit, and then they take him out last inning.
Well, maybe that has something to do with the fact that Jim Tracy only has 4 men on his bench.
Correct.
And one of them, Dexter Fowler, is clearly not available with a sprained ankle.
Yes.
And another, Josh Rutledge, can't run because of a thigh injury, although he can hit. They had to pinch run for him last night when he got on base, so I guess he's conserving his resources. Meanwhile, Colin McHugh, 8 strikeouts through the first 6 innings of his big league career. Up until today, Matt Harvey had been the only major league pitcher who had struck out more than 7 in his big league debut, and now McHugh joins him. In fact, until Harvey struck out 11 against the Diamondbacks, the Met record for strikeouts in a debut had been 8. Tom Seaver and Bill Dennehy, and now McHugh has matched that, the second most. So you don't know what the future holds, but so far a bright first half dozen starts for Matt Harvey, and certainly McHugh has had himself a terrific day today.
No one walk in the 6th innings, throwing strikes.
2-2 to Baxter, and it just missed. We're talking about the franchise record for strikeouts in a debut. Seaver and Dennehy each struck out 8 3 days apart, their debuts in 1967, and now here Harvey and McHugh just 4 weeks apart with big strikeout performances 45 years later. Slow ground ball. LeMahieu comes in on it and throws out Baxter. 1 away. From local Brooklyn boy to Mets Hall of Famer, John Franco takes you back to his roots, where his dreams of pitching in his hometown began. The John Franco Hall of Fame special, presented by Parts Authority, tonight at 7, only on SNY. Now Ruben Tejada, who's 0 for 2, dropped to 7 in the order today, but should have had a base hit his first time up. Only got denied one on a base running mistake by Baxter, and then he lined out to center his last time up.
Cute little girl joined the ball game, I hope.
Well, she looks like she's having a good time, whether it's because of the ball game or just hanging out with mom.
I'm enjoying it. Know what I'm looking forward to?
What's that?
A normal dinner hour tonight.
You think you'd be able to stay awake for it?
Oh yeah, I've already got. I'm going to go to the Paradise Cafe in SAG and have myself a nice dinner. It's very rare we get these.
Herrera throws out Tejada for the second out. Well, looking forward to that John Franco special tonight. Here's part of it where John roams the halls of Lafayette High School.
You weren't the only major leaguer that went to high school here.
No, we had quite a few. Sandy Koufax was the first baseman on the baseball team here. Fred Wilpon, our owner, was the star pitcher. I always tell him that he was the best pitcher to ever come out of Lafayette High School, just to brown him up a little bit. But you know, he was a good athlete, and it was just a good guy to play for.
Always a good idea to make nice with the owner. Josh Tolley has been intentionally walked and ground out to short, 0 for 1. Well, that's the truth. I mean, Sandy was a first baseman in high school and went to the University of Cincinnati to play basketball. And it was only in the sandlots at the parade grounds in Brooklyn that he finally started doing some pitching, and the scouts noticed. And eventually signed a big bonus contract with the Dodgers, and they had to keep him around in the big leagues and never sent him to the minors. In 1955, he was part of the World Championship Dodger team, but never pitched. 1-2 now to Tolley. As for Franco, he also started out in the Dodger organization before winding up spending 15 years as the Met closer and captain.
Well, I've always held Rusty Staub's opinion in great esteem, and I asked him who was the toughest. He had to pick one. He said Sandy Koufax. That goes a long way.
Here's the 1-2 to Tolley, and he goes down on strikes. So Brothers with another dominating inning sets the Mets down 1-2-3. Colin McHugh heads back to the mound, working on a shutout as we go to the 7th. returns to Citi Field tomorrow, and the Mets host the Astros. Sergio Vargas headlines the postgame concert presented by Budweiser and sponsored by Delta Airlines in Atlantic City. And you know the Mets always win on Merengue night. Log on to Mets.com. It's been quite a debut for Colin McHugh, the 25-year-old right-hander from Atlanta. Has worked through 6 scoreless innings, allowed just 2 hits, walked only 1, and struck out 8. And he'll face 3, 4, and 5 in the Rockies batting order in the 7th inning in a scoreless game. Jordan Pacheco, Carlos Gonzalez, and William Rosario will come up against McHugh. We gave up a leadoff double to Charlie Blackmon in the first, a leadoff single to DJ LeMahieu in the third, and that's been it. He's retired 11 of the last 12 batters to face him. Pacheco today has taken a call third strike and grounded to third, 0 for 2, and just 1 for 12 in this series. He came into the series a red hot hitter, still hitting over 300 for the year. And Pacheco swinging at the first pitch breaking ball, and he fouls it back. Well, we've heard so much more about some of the bigger names in the Mets farm system. Guys like Zach Wheeler and Jerry's Familia. We've already seen Matt Harvey. There was not a lot of conversation, at least not amongst the fan base, about Colin McHugh, but folks in the farm system knew what they had. Wally Backman has raved all year about McHugh, and when the Mets needed a starter with Santana going down, he was #1 on the list. A lot of folks thought Henry Mejia might get the call. He was in line to pitch because he pitched last Friday. But McHugh went Saturday, pitched 7 shutout innings for Buffalo in that game against Pawtucket. And here he is working on 6 scoreless innings against the Colorado Rockies. Funny thing is, this is McHugh's big league debut, but it's not the first time he's pitched in a big league stadium. In fact, it's his third. His last start that he pitched against Pawtucket last Friday was a minor league game that was played at Fenway Park. And he pitched 7 scoreless innings in Boston. Said it was a little intimidating looking at the big stands behind the plate, but then it was just 60 feet 6 inches. McHugh shot off the bat of Pacheco. Still 2-2.
How exciting that had to be.
And funny thing is, that wasn't even his first time. He had the same experience last year when he was pitching in Double-A. The Red Sox also had a game with their Double-A affiliate in Portland against Binghamton, and they played that one at Fenway, and McHugh pitched and pitched well. Popped up. This will be in play. Daniel Murphy standing under, and that retires Pacheco 1 away. So McHugh just rolling through it here. There's the Savannah Sand Gnats down in the South Atlantic League, and some of the names on the horizon. Adelín Rodriguez, still only 20 years old and has 16 home runs in that league. Michael Fulmer has had a nice year at age 19 on the mound for the Sand Gnats. Fulmer, another big prospect on the horizon, a little bit further down the road. One out and nobody on. Now Carlos Gonzalez, who has struck out and drawn a walk, 0 for 1. And he tops one toward the middle. Tough play for Murphy on the backhand, and the quick toss in time. He got him. Murphy throws out Carlos Gonzalez by an eyelash for the second out.
Well, makes the play close is Murphy playing so much deep in the outfield, but he does a nice job backhanded and getting rid of it quick. He knew he had to. Nice stretch by Ike. It was needed.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now William Rosario. By the way, Colin McHugh going 6 scoreless innings today and trying to make it 7. The last Met pitcher to throw 6 scoreless innings in his major league debut was Tyler Yates. Remember the big guy from Hawaii? Back in 2004 in Montreal. He went 6 scoreless, and no decision for him. And a slider for a strike to Rosario. Here's your Coors Light freeze cam.
Nice stretch by Ike. You can see that. Getting full extension.
And the curveball just missed. The ball and a strike to Rosario, who's grounded to third and fouled out to first, 0 for 2. The Rockies have just 2 hits. The Mets have just 4. The Mets have had the better of the opportunities, stranding 8 runners in the first 6 innings. And another curve from McHugh is in for a strike, 1-2. Well, Colin's been very efficient. 96 pitches with 2 out in the 7th inning. This is probably going to be his last inning. He's due to lead off in the bottom of the 7th. And his parents hanging on every pitch. Scott and Teresa. Fastball away, 2-2. And Colin probably knows that this is probably his last inning, and trying to finish it with a flourish as he takes on the power hitting Rosario.
I'm going to drop a hook on him here.
Trying to get it straight with Tolle, and Rosario gets tired of waiting and steps out.
Well, he's intent on what he wants to throw. He kept shaking off Tolle.
Well, that curve has been his strikeout pitch.
He wants the fastball.
2-2 from McHugh, and it's line foul. Didn't get it where he wanted it. Well, Rosario has been a little quick in this series. Quick there.
Shocking.
Again, the 2-2, and the curveball just missed. Lance Barksdale almost flinched. 3-2 to Rosario. Well, he threw the curveball on 2-2. Will he go back to it? Yep. 3-2. He struck him out. Strikeout number 9 for Colin McHugh. 7 scoreless innings in his major league debut, and his parents could not be happier. McHugh's retired 10 in a row. 7th inning stretch, no score. What a debut. Brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Well, before this season, no Met had ever struck out more than 8 in his big league debut. 4 weeks ago, Matt Harvey struck out 11 Diamondbacks in his first game. Today, Colin McHugh has struck out 9 Colorado Rockies, and he's done Harvey one better by going 7 and not allowing a run. He is done for the day. Ronnie Cedeno will bat for him. The last Met to throw 7 scoreless innings in his major league debut was Masato Yoshi, who of course was a Japanese veteran, was 32 years old at the time, but he did that in April of 1998 against the Pirates. Ronnie Cedeno takes a curveball for a strike from Rex Brothers. Cedeno batting for McHugh, so the Mets will try and get a run here to get Colin a chance for a win. Ronnie started last night, went 1 for 5, and he takes off the plate a ball and a strike.
Well, just a terrific performance by the young man, Colin McHugh. And 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, 2 hits. Throwing strikes, getting ahead of hitters, mixing them up. And nice for the Mets to get him a run and a W.
Well, the Mets hang their hat on their wealth of young pitching talent. Ground ball toward the hole and a base hit for Cedeno. So a pinch hit single for Ronnie Cedeno. The Mets have just their 5th hit of the day, and the leadoff man on in the home 7th. And now let's see if Valdespin is asked to bunt him over. Valdespin tried to bunt for a hit his last time up and hit it right back to the pitcher. Was thrown out. He's also walked and singled today, 1 for 2 in only his 2nd career start as a leadoff hitter. Would you bunt here or let him swing the bat?
You got a young kid out there in his debut who's thrown so wonderfully. I would bunt and hope to get a run for him.
I think particularly with a left-hander on the mound. Third baseman Nelson cheating in, looking for the bunt. And Valdespin squares as Brothers throws to first.
Otherwise, I would let Jordani swing the bat, because this is all about evaluation right there. Right at this point in the season. But
Will Harris, the right-hander in the bullpen.
You got that young man McHugh through a great game. Try to get him a win.
And Valdespin turning out of the way, 1-0. Daniel Murphy on deck, David Wright behind him. Rockies got 3 scoreless innings out of Tyler Chatwood, 2 out of Adam Ottavino, and now Rex Brothers working his 2nd inning. He's gone 3 1/3 now in this series without allowing a run. Valdespin fouls off that bunt attempt, and that knocked the mask right off the home plate umpire Lance Barksdale. And he's a little shaken.
Yep. That got him.
Square. And the third base umpire and crew chief Gary Cederstrom comes down to see if Lance is okay. That'll make your jaw rattle if nothing else.
No matter all that padding, it still hurts, and you can see the expression on his face. That caught him.
Ray Ramirez, the Mets trainer, out to have a look. And all his crewmates around him, but looks like Lance is going to hang in there. Bid on a chance for you and a guest to have dinner with us and catch the game in the SNY Suite at Citi Field September 12th. All proceeds will benefit the high school basketball teams playing in the 2013 SNY Invitational. Bid today at sny.tv/charity auction. So Lance Barksdale appears to be okay after taking that direct hit. And Valdespin will go back to bunting and try and get one in the other direction. Cedeno at first, no stolen base threat. In fact, he hasn't attempted one all year. And Valdespin lays off. It's a call strike. Fastball from Brothers, and now it's 1-2. Well, Colin McHugh, a more than interested spectator. See if the Mets can get him a run and a chance for a win after a spectacular performance in his major league debut. Not bunting, and Valdespin tops one foul. Jordani walked and stole a base in the first, singled and was caught stealing in the third, then tried to bunt his way on and was thrown out in the 5th. By the way, the Astros had a lead in St. Louis. Cardinals have 5 runs in the 5th, 8-5 Cardinals.
That would be, if they lose that one, what, their 7th in a row that they would have lost, Houston?
By the way, the Cardinals, by the Pirates losing last night and the Cardinals beating the Astros, are now the St. Louis Cardinals in that second wild card spot behind Atlanta and in front of the Pirates and the Dodgers. So the Cardinals doing what they did last year, just winning at the right time. In the dirt, and Jordani's worked the count full. Rosario trouble picking it up, but no chance for Cedeno to make a break. Meanwhile, the Tigers just tied up the Blue Jays. They got 2 in the 8th to get even. Verlander's still in there going to the 9th, 2-2. He is as much a workhorse as anybody in the game now. Throwing 120, 125 pitches a game.
3-2. Cedeno not running, and Valdespin goes down on strikes. So Brothers strikes out Valdespin for the first out.
Well, he couldn't get the bunt down, got himself behind 1-2, and Brothers throws extremely hard, overpowers him.
Well, the Mets just failing to execute in every manner. So Murphy bats with 1 out and 1 on. Daniel got a lucky hit his last time up. He topped one along the third base grass and beat it out for an infield hit. Just his 4th hit in his last 37 at bats. We'll see if that gets him going. Facing a tough lefty, he grounds one toward the hole, run down by LeMahieu, and that's the second out. But Cedeno gets over to second.
So 2 away, a chance for David Wright, and you have to think they're going to walk him intentionally and pitch to Ike Davis with a left-hander on the mound. The Rockies walked David intentionally twice last night. Bobby Parnell up in the Mets bullpen as McHugh left for a pinch hitter here in the 7th. So Davis on deck more than likely is going to get the crack against Brothers here. David's 1 for 3 today, and they've already given the sign for the intentional walk. So for the 3rd time in 2 days and the 16th time this year, most in the National League, David Wright will be intentionally passed. This will be David's 72nd walk overall. That's 2nd in the National League.
Well, with Ike hitting behind him and Ike hitting under 200 against left-handers, even if Ike was a threat, he would not pitch to David. I mean, a big threat. I mean, David's just too solid against left-handers. You would just play the percentages.
So that puts Wright on base. So Davis will bat with 2 out and 2 on. Mets have left 8 so far, and Colin McHugh looking at his chance for a win with Davis at the plate.
Well, Davis got a base hit against the other left-hander last night in the 8th inning that drove in a run. That was off Matt Reynolds.
He faced Brothers on Tuesday night. He had a hard line drive to left field.
Struck out the one time against him earlier, didn't he?
Yep, the first game of the series.
He's faced him twice.
Ike today has flied to left and walked twice, so he's 0 for 1. Cedeno at second, Wright at first, and 2 down. Scoreless game in the 7th. And Davis swinging and missing at the fastball, 0-1.
Boy, threw it by him.
Well, that's what happened in that first game. I mean, he beat him with 3 fastballs, and the third one he chased, it was about 2 feet high.
Ike's looking for a fastball, and you get beat badly like that. That's confidence shaking.
Look back at second with Herrera playing right behind Cedeno.
You notice the catcher Rosario setting up inside late. They're going to just pound him in.
Davis 22 home runs, 7 of them against left-handers, but only 5 of them in this ballpark. 17 home runs on the road. That's more than anybody in the National League. But the flip side is ugly. I mean, I don't usually put much stock in home road numbers, but Davis has had a devil of a time hitting in this ballpark all year. Will Harris ready in the bullpen if needed for the Rockies.
See if they're going to go back in. Nope.
Good slider by Brothers. A ball and 2 strikes.
Chasing a bad one after 2 hard ones in.
You see those home run numbers. They are stark.
I did not know they were that disparate.
It's a good word. It's the word of the day. That's right there with the Marquis de Sade. Here's the 1-2 to Davis. Popped it up. Who's going to get it? Herrera comes on to grab it, and that retires the side. A leadoff hit, but the Mets strand 2, and no decision for McHugh, but a great outing nonetheless in his debut. No score after 7. We're in our big city, and it's been a great day for the pitchers here at Citi Field.
That's a beautiful shot. Needs to run around there.
Well, Mets starting pitchers in this series have given up 4 earned runs total in 4 games, but the Mets in danger of getting swept. Mets will go to the bullpen after a great outing by Colin McHugh in his first big league start, and Bobby Parnell comes on to pitch.
Well, been an up and down season for Bobby. Francisco went down. He was thrown into the save spot. Now back into the late innings setup.
Bobby worked 2 nights ago when an inning and a third allowed a run on 2 hits. Tyler Colvin, Chris Nelson, DJ LeMahieu, the 3 he'll face in the top of the 8th. Colvin is 0 for 2, struck out and flied out, and he takes the curveball for a strike. Colin McHugh gave up a leadoff double to Charlie Blackmon in the first, a single to DJ LeMahieu in the third, and a walk to Carlos Gonzalez in the fourth, and that was it. McHugh retired the last 10 to face him, walked 1 and struck out 9 over 7 tremendous innings. Line to center field, and right there is Valdespin, misjudged it, and it goes over his head. Colvin racing to second. He'll take the turn and go to third. A triple for Tyler Colvin as Valdespin, who has not played a whole lot of center field, messed that one up.
Well, you can't fault Giordani here. As Gary said, he is not an outfielder by trade. He's a second baseman. They're playing him out of position just to get him some at bats to see what he can do. And this is a line drive. Not really a line drive. He just misjudged it, plain and simple. And the way that things have been going offensively for the Mets, this could be a costly miscalculation.
8th triple of the year for Tyler Colvin. Now, the Rockies had a runner at third with 1 out in the first. McHugh struck out Pacheco and Gonzalez to get through it, and the Rockies had not had another runner in scoring position until right now. But this is eerily reminiscent of last night when Matt Harvey pitched 6 tremendous innings, left in a 1-1 game. The bullpen came in, and the very first batter, Willen Rosario, hit a home run against Ramon Ramirez. And certainly Valdespin should have caught that ball, but it was still well hit by Colvin against Bobby Parnell. So a runner at third and nobody out. The infield comes in. Chris Nelson, the batter. He's 0 for 2. And Nelson takes a strike from Parnell. Remember that the Rockies executed a successful suicide squeeze last night. DJ LeMahieu, who's on deck, pulled it off, and Colvin scored the run on that suicide squeeze in the game last night. And Nelson fouls it back, and Parnell, badly in need of a strikeout, gets ahead 0-2.
Oh, he's badly in need of 2 strikeouts. Infield in, as Gary said, they're shading Nelson the opposite field and the outfield, correctly so. Remember last night he drove in a run late in the ball game with a base hit to right field, that 2-run 9th inning.
0-2, and he punches that one foul. Well, that one also came with the infield in.
Correct.
In that 9th inning against Francisco.
He drove in the first run, and it was a inside out line drive to right field, and Parnell wisely, with that 95-mile-plus-mile-an-hour fastball, there it is.
Cholula.
Pound him in.
He's a flamethrower. Here's the 0-2, and the breaking ball fouled off. Well, the Mets are at a point in their season where it's getting discouraging for them, losing day after day, but the focus is on the future. And the starting pitching they got last night from Matt Harvey and today from Colin McHugh make you feel a little more secure about what's to come. Here's the 0-2, and the curveball bounced toward the middle, and it gets past the drawn-in infield, and the Rockies score the first run of the game. Colvin comes in to score on the seeing eye hit by Chris Nelson. 1-0 Colorado.
I question the pitch, the selection. Throw him a curveball 1 and 2 in the dirt, and you throw him another breaking ball. When you're throwing 96, 97. So there you have it.
So the Rockies score first and score immediately against the Mets bullpen after a tie game, just as they did last night. DJ LeMahieu, the batter, he's 1 for 2, single to right and struck out against McHugh. Well, the Mets in danger of getting swept in a 4-game series by the Rockies for the 2nd straight year. Bounce foul by LeMahieu. The Rockies winning 7 straight games here at Citi Field. Last time that any team won more than 7 straight games against the Mets in their home ballpark, it was the Braves who beat them 10 straight at Shea, 1991-1992. The Mets haven't been able to beat anybody at home lately. And LeMahieu hits a double play ball right at Murphy. The backhand flip, and Tejada does the rest for the 4-6-3 double play. So 2 out and nobody on. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by with this game break. All right, Chris. Now Josh Rutledge will pinch hit for the pitcher. Rex Brothers, who's now pitcher of record on the long side. Rutledge, who's been sitting out this series with a quad injury, nonetheless has been able to pinch hit twice, and last night had an RBI double in the 9th inning against Frank Francisco. Well, we mentioned that before Darren McHugh today, the last Met rookie to throw 7 scoreless in his big league debut was Masato Yoshi. But, you know, Yoshi was a rookie in name only, 32 years old, and pitched 11 years in Japan. The last quote-unquote real rookie to throw that many scoreless innings in a Met debut, you got to go back to 1966 when Dick Rustick threw a 9-inning, 4-hit shutout against the Reds in his big league debut. Dick Rustick. 46 years ago. Now, Dick Rustick did not have a great career. He threw 8 games in his whole career, all in 1966, with a 1-2 career record. So that was the only game he ever won, that complete game shutout. Hopefully Colin McHugh will fare far better. There's a base hit for Rutledge, so another pinch hit for Rutledge, and we'll see if they have to pinch run for him again, as they did last night.
They will pinch run with another pitcher.
Well, they used Alex White last night to pinch run, a starting pitcher, and there's Alex again. So keeping his spikes on every day. White, who started the opening game of the series, now has 3 appearances in the series. That doesn't happen very often for a starter. Ronnie used to do that. He used to pinch run.
That's because Ronnie was an athlete. He ran well and had a good sense of the game.
And they pinch run him for Rusty.
Right. And he was Ronnie ran good bases. He had good. His dad taught him well. His dad just didn't teach him to pitch. He taught him how to play the game.
Of course, he didn't really pitch until college. He was a shortstop before that. Charlie Blackmon pops one up down the left field line, headed toward the stands and out of play. So Parnell's given up 3 hits here in the 8th inning. Started out with the ball misjudged in center field by Valdespin for a triple by Colvin. Chris Nelson singling past the drawn infield to get the run in. And now, after a double play, Rutledge with the pinch hit single, poking one into right. And so it has gone for the Mets pitching staff. The starters doing a great job. The bullpen, not so much. Blackmon is 1 for 3 today, doubled back in the first inning. I mean, think about this series. You had Ari Dickey on Monday night, goes 7 innings, 1 run, 3 hits.
Chris Young.
And then Josh Edgin made that error in the 8th, and the Rockies went ahead to stay. Chris Young had 1 bad inning. He made a throwing error that led to a couple of unearned runs, but he gave up only 2 earned runs in 7 innings. That was enough to beat him.
Right.
Matt Harvey last night, 6 innings, 1 run, 3 hits, 9 strikeouts, leaves in a tie game, and the bullpen quickly gives it up on the home run by Rosario. And now the same scenario today. McHugh 7 scoreless, and immediately upon going to the bullpen, Terry Collins sees the Rockies take the lead. And you think back to even when the Mets were winning games the first half of the season. Think how many more they could have won had their bullpen been able to lock things down. Inside to Blackmon, and it's 2-2. And when you go back to the offseason last year, it was the one area that the Mets focused on was righting the bullpen, bringing in Francisco and Rausch and Ramirez, who they thought would form the core along with Parnell of a successful bullpen, and it just has not worked out that way. Inside on a full count to Blackmon.
Well, if you remember the personnel 2 years ago in that pen, it was an upgrade. It just hasn't worked out. Ramirez has not had a good year. Francisco's ERA is, what, over 6?
I mean, it's one thing for it not to work out, but it has not worked out spectacularly to the tune of the worst bullpen ERA in baseball.
Rausch has pitched wonderfully for the last couple months.
Back to Parnell, and he makes the play to first to end the inning. But the Rockies grab the lead. Tyler Colvin hitting one to center field that eludes Jordani Valdespin. The triple for Colvin. He comes in on a base hit by Chris Nelson. 1-0 Colorado as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Hospital for special surgery, and not a whole lot happening in that box score. Mets have left
10 runners on base over the first 7
innings. They've drawn 6 walks, had 5 hits, but nothing on the board, and now trail 1-0 as they come to bat in the bottom of the 8th against the new Colorado pitcher Will Harris.
Well, Harris pitched in the game last night, 1/3 of an inning. He came in a tight situation to face Valdespin in the 8th, the runner on first base, and struck him out.
He'll come in here to face Scott Hairston, leading off in the 8th inning. Hairston, his last 2 at bats, has come up with 2 out and 2 on, and each time hit the first pitch and made the 3rd out. This time he takes the first pitch and it's away for ball 1. Fly to center field with 2 men on in the 3rd, and then fouled out to the catcher in the 5th. It'll be Hairston, Baxter, and Tejada in the home 8th. And that's on the inside corner, a strike 1-1. Just a little more history about the debut today by Colin McHugh. 7 innings, no runs, 2 hits, and 9 strikeouts. That combination in a rookie debut has now been done only 3 times since 1920. 3 times in the last 92 years. Juan Marichal in 1960 with the Giants, Steve Woodard in 1997 with the Brewers, and today Colin McHugh. That research by Mark Simon of ESPN. So truly an extraordinary debut today by Colin McHugh. 2-2 now to Hairston.
Good company with Juan Marichal.
Steve Woodard was more of a soft tosser who didn't have a very long career.
1960 with the Giants.
Will Harris, just his 6th big league game. 27-year-old rookie out of LSU. Two to Hairston, and the curveball bounced foul. Here's some other history. Not so happy history. The Rockies coming into this series were 46-73, 27 games under 500. The Mets are in danger of being swept in a 4-game series by the Rockies at home. Only twice have the Mets ever been swept in a 4-game series by a team that started out that series 25 or more games under 500, and both times it was at the Polo Grounds. In 1962 and 1963, the Houston Colt 45s swept a 4-game series from the Mets at a time when they were that far under 500. It has not happened since. It's in danger of happening today. Swing and a miss, and Harris strikes out Hairston to start the bottom of the 8th.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Toyota. When you choose Toyota, you get a lot for less. Toyota. By Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. And by Partners Executive Transportation, driving you around the world.
That info courtesy of the Elias Sports Bureau, and they dig deep sometimes, don't they?
I believe the Astros' career against the Mets have the winning record.
Sure.
He always gave the Mets trouble.
Even in '69 when the Mets won it all, as Baxter takes ball 1. The Astros beat the Mets 10 out of 12 that year in 1969. And in those early years, the Mets would finish 10th every year, and the Astros would finish 9th in that 10-team league. But the Astros have never won a World Series, and in fact never played in a World Series until 2005 when they got swept by the White Sox.
They just couldn't hit that series. White Sox pitching was
they had
dominant.
What, 3 complete games in that, in that 4-game series?
Phil Gardner was the manager. Remember, he just berated his offense in the paper.
The Astros overall against the Mets have won 307 and lost 256. So it hasn't even been close. And of course, this weekend will close out the era of the Mets and Astros playing together, as co-expansionists in the National League. Baxter flies one to shallow right, and Blackman comes on. 2 out. So Harris has retired the first 2 here in the home 8th. And now Ruben Tejada. Well, the last 5 games, the Mets offense has been a good poker hand. 2-2-1-2-2. Those are the number of runs they've scored the last 5. Today, it's a big fat 0. If the Mets score 2 or less today, it'll be the first time they would have scored 2 or less in 6 straight games since 1982. A dark age in Mets baseball. Right before Keith got there the next year.
Just coming out of the tunnel, though.
It's Tejada. He takes a strike off speed pitch from Harris. So, I mean, it's really phenomenal what has happened with this team. Phenomenal, not in a good way. To go from 6 games over 500 before the All-Star break to the depths of despair that they're in right now.
Yes, they are. They've been like beaten down, and it's showing now. They're completely demoralized, and I can appreciate that.
Tomorrow, the Mets will welcome in a new opponent, the team with the worst record in baseball, the 39-85 Astros. Jonathan Neese pitches tomorrow night against Jordan Lyles. 6:30 the coverage right here on SNY.
And Neese has been pitching brilliantly.
But then again, so is everybody else right now, and it's getting them nowhere. Up and into Tejada. You know, when the Mets first went south early after the All-Star break a month or so ago, it was the starting pitching breaking down after pitching brilliantly for the first half of the year. But right now, it's the offense. They just can't score. Jason Bay plastered on the bench. Here's the 1-2 coming. And it's popped up in foul ground. Pacheco coming over near the dugout and runs out of room. Right into the camera well. When I say plastered on the bench, I mean sitting, not any other connotations. Should someone choose to take that the wrong way.
You got to be very careful these nowadays, Gary.
Sometimes. Tejada 0 for 3 on the day. Bounced down to 7th in the order. 2-2 now to Ruben. Josh Toley would be next. Well, the Rockies using their game plan of limiting the pitch count for their starters. Pulled Tyler Chatwood after 3 innings. He allowed no runs and 3 hits. Ottavino for 2. Brothers for 2, each throwing scoreless baseball. The Rockies bullpen has pitched a lot of innings in this series, but given up only 2 runs. Driven to left center field, and that's a base hit for Tejada, and that'll go all the way back to the wall. Tejada racing for second. He'll pull in there with a 2-out double. So Ruben has his 22nd double of the year, and the Mets have the tying run in scoring position.
Cutter that just stayed out over the plate. Nice at bat by Ruben. Nice 2-strike at bat again.
First extra base hit of the day for the Mets, and their 6th hit of the game. Josh Toley will come up, try and get the tying run in. John Roush, you saw up in the bullpen. Toley today 0 for 2 and an intentional walk. So Will Harrison, just his 6th big league game, being entrusted to protect a 1-run lead in the 8th. Got the first 2 outs. Now he's given up the double to Tejada. They're playing awfully deep against Toley.
They sure
aren't
are.
they?
I just noticed that, Gary. Took the words out of my mouth.
With the tying run at second base.
Oh, there we go. Setting up inside again.
I mean, you can understand wanting to play maybe a little deeper because you don't want the go-ahead run to wind up at second. But, boy, with Josh at the plate and a chance to cut down the tying run.
Yep.
Justin Turner on deck to pinch hit if Toley can keep the inning alive.
Oh,
Josh
boy.
beating on that fastball, and it's 0-2, and he's just messed up right now.
Right down the pipe.
Josh is 0 for 7 in this series, and just 8 for his last 55. (0-2) from Harris, and he struck him out on 3 pitches.
Wow.
So Harris blows away Tolley. Mets waste the double by Tejada, and we head to the 9th at Citi Field with the Rockies up 1-0. These days. Coming up on Geico Sports Night, a look at the wild card races. The Jets make changes, and the golf as well. Geico Sports Night tonight at 10:30 right here on SNY.
Well, speaking of beacons, this is one guy right here who's been pitching wonderfully. ERA getting close to getting below 3.
For a rarity lately, gave up a run his last time out on Monday night in the first game of this series. He issued a leadoff walk that came around to score. Jonathan Herrera 0 for 2 in a sacrifice today. That was Matt Belisle up in the bullpen for the Rockies, so it looks like Rafael Betancourt, after getting saves the last 2 days, or 2 of the last 3 days, will get rested today, and Belisle will get the save opportunity. Popped up off the bat of Herrera. And Tejada with the better angle goes to the line to grab it, caught it in fair territory. So 1 out in the top of the 9th, and now Jordan Pacheco. Pacheco is 0 for 3. Struck out, grounded out, popped up. Colin McHugh went 7, allowed no runs and 2 hits, a walk, and 9 strikeouts in a wonderful debut. But he gets a no decision. Bobby Parnell worked the 8th, gave up a run on 3 hits. He's on the hook. And now Roush trying to keep it a 1-run game. Mets will have 9, 1, and 2 in the batting order coming up in the bottom of the 9th. A pinch hitter, then Valdespin and Murphy. And if anybody gets on, David Wright will get a crack at it. Carlos Gonzalez waits on deck for the Rockies. Colorado, which was buried in last place long ago in the National League West, showing signs of life these last few weeks and doing it with many of their stars out of the lineup. If they win today, it would be 5 in a row and 12 of their last 17, which is quite a credit to Jim Tracy and the way that they've been able to keep themselves together. Driven to left center field, a base hit for Pacheco, and that'll go to the wall. Pacheco to second, and he'll pull in there with a 1-out double. So Jordan Pacheco with just his second hit in 14 at bats in this series.
Hanging breaking ball. That's when Roush gets hurt. I don't mind anybody's going to get hurt with a hanging breaking ball. But I like Roush's fastball. I think that's his best pitch. Still throws hard.
So the Rockies, who went into the 9th inning last night with a 1-run lead and tacked on 2 to make it easier. Now with a 1-run lead in the 9th and looking for insurance, the Mets will intentionally walk Carlos Gonzalez. No sense messing around with him. By far the best bat in the lineup, even though he's gone 0 for 6 in this series so far. And they'll deal instead with Wheelan Rosario. So this will be just the second walk of the day by a Mets pitcher. McHugh walked 1 in his start. Each team has 6 base hits this afternoon, and the Mets have had the far better of the opportunities, but have left 11 runners on base, including 7 in scoring position.
Well, he started out early, Garrett. Caught him looking with the fastball. 2 strikeouts there. He beats Gonzalez. Now look at us against the strikeouts with the curve. Another curve. 3 in a row. Another one. 4. There's a fastball thrown by him. Another fastball. So let's see, he mixed them up. There's his parents.
Scott and Teresa. McHugh couldn't be more happy. Only could have been better if the Mets could have gotten him a run to work with, but Colin McHugh with 7 tremendous innings in his first major league game. So here's Wheelan Rosario, who's 0 for 3 today. Grounded out, fouled out, struck out. 1 for 10 in this series. That one was a home run last night. 2 aboard and 1 out, and he drives this one down the left field line. It hooks and goes just foul. Didn't miss a 3-run homer by much.
That's the 3rd one that he's pulled foul in this series.
And the one he homered on was right down the line as well, more of a fly ball. Rosario with 20 home runs. And Rosario pops this one straight up. Totally trying to find it as he sheds the mask. And he's got it. 2 out. So Rosario with the foul home run, then fouls out. 2 out and 2 on. And now Tyler Colvin. Colvin has scored the only run of this game. Hit a drive to center that eluded Jordani Valdespin for a triple leading off in the 8th, and he came in on Chris Nelson's base hit, and that has been the scoring today. Colvin having himself a terrific series. 6 for 14 with a double, a triple, a homer, and 3 stolen bases. Getting a chance to play every day and really proving out. And he fouls that one off. 0-1. Colvin, a first-round pick by the Cubs back in 06 out of Clemson. As you look at that game in Detroit, going to the 11th. Tigers starting the day 1 game out of the wild card race in the American League and 2 games behind the White Sox in the Central Division. Swing and a miss. They finally got a good start out of Anibal Sanchez last night. Sanchez had really struggled since coming over from the Marlins. But he pitched a gem in beating the Blue Jays last night.
Well, none of those starters. I know that Josh Johnson had the surgery, but the other starters have just not panned out. Nolasco, Sanchez,
Volstad.
Well, Volstad was brought up way too early.
Well, think of the last round of great starters that the Marlins produced when they had Beckett and Burnett and Dempster, that whole group. They've all had their bumps in the road. Inside to Colvin, 2-2, but they've all had fairly long careers and a lot of success.
I'm trying to think of the left-hander that just retired. The African-American left-hander. Dontrell Willis, yes. That was another one that had a bright future.
Right. Two out, 2 on, 2-2 to Tyler Colvin. And a dribbler out in front of the plate, and Tolley pounces on it, and that retires the side. So Roush strands a couple in the top of the ninth. Mets will come up trying to avoid getting shut out and swept. A tweet of the game. Most important things for the Mets to find out this September. Big Dom Fact says they should find out if Duda and Nieuwenhuis can be a fixture. Well, Nieuwenhuis is out for the year, so won't be able to find out that. But Duda will definitely be back in September. Jay McCullough says they should decide whether their young pitchers can fortify the bullpen or if they need to seek outside help. Probably a little of both, I would think. But we've certainly seen tremendous starting performances the last 2 days from Harvey and McHugh. Matt Belisle has only 2 saves in his major league career. He'll try for number 3 today. Justin Turner pinch hits to lead off the bottom of the ninth and takes a strike.
The real question is, what have the Mets found out? I think a lot of things were discovered this year, and not all positive.
No. Turner with 10 pinch hits this year. Nelson really on the line at third base against him, trying to prevent the double. Jordani Valdespin on deck, then Daniel Murphy. If anybody gets on, David Wright will have a turn. Belisle working for the 3rd time in this series, and he darts one outside. A ball and 2 strikes. Biggest out Belisle got in this series was in the Monday night game. He came in with the bases loaded in the 8th inning. with the Mets down by a run, face Valdespin. Got that ground ball behind first that Colvin made a nice play on. Valdespin tried to dive into first, and Bilal beat him to the bag. And he just misses inside to Turner in a full count. Bilal has been in 367 career games. He had 1 save in 2005 for the Reds and 1 save in 2010 for the Rockies. And that's it. And has to get a save today. 3-2.
And Turner pokes one the other way for a base hit. Over quickly is Blackman to cut it off, and he holds Turner to a single. So the Mets get the leadoff man on in a 1-0 game in the ninth.
Well, the Mets 2 for 2 with pinch hitters today. Cedeno pinch hit single in the 7th that led off the inning, and now Turner.
Play for the tie, which is what the book says, or do you play for the win?
I want to see this kid swing the bat, Gary.
Well, he was asked to try and sacrifice in the 7th, didn't get the bunt down, and eventually struck out. He's 1 for 3 and a walk today, and the Rockies will play for the bunt. Of course, back in the 7th, you had a left-hander in the game in Brothers. A little different here with a right-hander in the game. We're going to get a pinch runner now for Turner. Turner's had a little bit of an ankle issue, and so Torres will run for him. So the Mets get the speedier Torres in the game. So would you think about trying to steal the base rather than sacrificing?
Oh, you can hit and run. He gets a jump, let him go.
Torres with 10 steals on the year. He's been caught 5 times. And Valdespin set to swing as he takes the breaking ball for ball 1.
Tell you what, Lance Barksdale's had a tough day back there. He's missed a lot of calls. He's a little blind on the outside corner for both lefties and righties. He's missed some breaking stuff too. That's the breaking stuff that he has a hard time gauging today.
Now, Terry Collins not asking Valdespin to bunt on that first pitch. Nelson stays in at third, and Valdespin takes a hack at a fastball. 1-1. Well, you know what Jordani's thinking. I get a chance to swing the bat, I'm going to try and win the game with one swing.
Well, he shouldn't be thinking that. We don't know that. We're speculating. He should be thinking right now, getting a pitch, get a base hit, prolong the inning, prolong the rally, push the rally forward.
And now bunting and gets it down nicely. Bilal makes the play. And so Valdespin was given 1 strike and then asked to bunt. 1-3 on the sack, moves the tying run to second. So after not getting the bunt down the previous at bat, he does so this time. And the Mets a base hit away from tying the game. Daniel Murphy 1 for 4 today. And a swinging roller along the grass at third for an infield hit in the 5th. Murphy with 53 runs batted in, hitting .308 with runners in scoring position. And the Mets badly in need of a big hit that's eluded them all day. They've left 11 runners on. And Murphy beaten on the fastball, 0-1.
Boy, Murph just doesn't look right. Very rare do you see him swing and miss it. I've swung and missed a lot of pitches today, and it's just so rare.
David Wright waiting on deck. He runs that one in on Murphy, and he fouls it off. The Mets have not lost a 1-0 game this year. Last time they lost a 1-0 game was last September in Atlanta when Tim Hudson out-dueled R.A. Dickey. The Mets had only been shut out 4 times all year through the end of July, but in danger of being shut out for the 4th time this month.
Well, Murph's got a hole between short and third. They're holding on Torres at second.
In the air to center field, and Colvin has it lined up. Torres will tag at second and not go anywhere as Colvin catches it for the second out. So now if you're Jim Tracy and you've already walked David Wright intentionally 3 times in the last 2 days, would you do it again here and put the winning run on base?
Nope, I would not. Pitch to right, righty. What are you paying the guy out there for?
David's 1 for 3 and an intentional walk today. He has great numbers against Belisle, 7 hits and 14 career at bats. Mets need a 2-out hit to tie the game and avoid a 4-game sweep.
Everybody pretty much straight up on the defense.
And Wright fouls off the first pitch fastball, 0-1.
I know I'm always a preacher of guarding the line here, but you know what? This is a tie ball game. First baseman over there, Pacheco with Wright, likes to hit the opposite field. I would move him off the line, take away the hole, move him a little closer to the second baseman, around another 10 feet. Take that hole away from David.
Well, considering that the third baseman, Nelson, is not guarding the line.
Right. David doesn't hit the ball down the right field line on the ground.
Here's the 0-1. In the air to right. Blackman moves back. He's there, and the ball game is over. And the Rockies, for the second straight year, have swept a 4-game series from the Mets, as the Mets lose their 5th straight game. And for the 6th straight, they're held to 2 runs or less. First time that's happened in 30 years, as the Rockies win it 1-0 despite the best efforts of Colin McHugh, who was brilliant in his big league debut.
Well, they out-hit the Rockies 7-6, but it's all about the runs. And the Mets have just struggled offensively. I don't want to beat a dead horse. A 4-game series. They've only scored 5 runs. And they get swept by the last place Rockies. And now they got the worst team in baseball coming in, the worst team in baseball with the worst record, the Houston Astros, tomorrow night.
Your New York Community Bank game summary. Matt Belisle gets the save, first of the year, 3rd of his career. Mets go 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position, leave 12 men on. McHugh was fantastic, but the Mets right now in an offensive funk. They get swept in a 4-game series by the Rockies. More coming up from Citi Field.